The poison was supposed to kill him in 3 minutes, but he drank it with a smile, and now I'm the one dying inside. Before we dive into the Shadow King's dangerous world, make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button, and tell me where you're listening from. Every click, every comment, every bit of love you leave here helps us keep unraveling these dangerous love stories and high-stakes betrayals together. So, find your quiet place, dim the lights and get ready. The closet smelled like cedar and expensive cologne, a fragrance so rich it made my stomach turn. Or maybe that was the guilt. I couldn't tell anymore where one ended and the other began. I sat on the floor between rows of tailored suits, my knees pulled to my chest, clutching the glass vial in one hand and the sake decanter in the other. The vial was empty now. Every last drop of the colorless liquid had been poured into the alcohol, swirling invisibly through the rice wine like a silent executioner. 3 minutes after ingestion, the toxin would paralyze his respiratory system. 5 minutes, and his heart would stop. The Red Lotus chemist had been very specific about the timeline. I had exactly 8 minutes before Akira Suzuki returned from his shower. My hands shook so violently the vial nearly slipped from my fingers. I pressed it against my chest, trying to steady myself. But the trembling had nothing to do with my hands, and everything to do with the screaming in my head. The voice that sounded like my baby sister's laugh. The voice that reminded me why I was here, crouched like a thief in a man's closet, about to commit murder. Leo's medical bills are 3 months overdue. The Rising Phoenix Triad owns your debt. Do this, or they'll take her instead. The tears came hot and fast, burning tracks down my face. I bit my lip to keep from sobbing aloud, tasting salt and lipstick and self-loathing. My cheap polyester maid uniform crinkled as I curled tighter into myself, a discordant sound against the whisper of silk shirts hanging above me. Everything in this closet cost more than I'd earn in a year. Everything in this penthouse belonged to a world I'd never touch, except to clean it, except to poison it. The bathroom door opened down the hall. Water shut off. My heart slammed against my ribs. He's coming. I scrambled to my feet, shoving the empty vial into my apron pocket. My fingers were still wrapped around the sake decanter when the closet door flew open with a sharp thwack that made me flinch. Akira Suzuki filled the doorframe. He was shirtless, water still glistening on his bare chest, a towel slung low around his hips. But it wasn't his half-naked state that stole the air from my lungs, it was the dragon. The Irezumi stretched across his torso, in magnificent, terrible detail. Scales rendered in black and gray, claws extending over his ribs, the serpentine body coiling from his left shoulder down to his hip. The dragon's head rested over his heart, mouth open, breathing smoke that seemed to move in the shadows. Yakuza, Kumicho, a boss. I'd known what he was when I accepted this assignment, but knowing and seeing were different things. His dark eyes locked onto mine, and I watched his expression shift from confusion to concern in the space of a heartbeat. Not anger. Concern. Scarlet. My fake name sounded gentle in his mouth, almost tender. He stepped inside, and the closet suddenly felt impossibly small. "Why are you crying?" I couldn't answer. Couldn't breathe. The decanter slipped in my sweaty grip. His gaze dropped to my hands, to the sake. Then back to my tear-stained face. Something shifted in his expression, something sharp and knowing that made my blood run cold. "Who made you cry?" His voice was still soft, but there was steel underneath now, a blade wrapped in silk. He moved closer. I stumbled back against the suits, and that's when he saw it, the faint residue of white powder on the decanter's rim, where my shaking hands had fumbled the transfer. His eyes narrowed. "What did you do?" "Nothing," I choked out. I wasn't. But he'd already taken the decanter from my trembling hands. He turned it slowly, examining it in the closet's dim light. Then he looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Something between disappointment and curiosity. Is this what I think it is? My silence was answer enough. Akira Suzuki uncapped the decanter, raised it to his lips, and drank. "No!" The scream tore from my throat as I lunged forward, knocking the decanter from his hands. It shattered on the hardwood floor, sake spreading like blood across the expensive wood. I grabbed his face, my hands frantically searching for... What? Signs of distress? Foam at his mouth? Seizures? Why would you spit it out? "We have to the hospital, I'll call." Scarlet. His hands closed around my wrists. Firm but not cruel. "Breathe. You drank poison." Tears streamed down my face. "So you have 3 minutes before..." Before the synthetic aconitine from aconitum, Karmakali paralyzes my respiratory system? He said it so calmly, like he was discussing the weather. Followed by cardiac arrest at the 5-minute mark, the world tilted. How do you... The same way I know you've been working for the Rising Phoenix Triad for 8 months. His thumbs traced small circles on my wrists, an absurdly gentle gesture. The same way I know your real name is Trisha Chen, and you have a 10-year-old sister named Lana who needs a kidney transplant. My legs gave out. He caught me, lowering us both to the floor among the broken glass and spilled sake. I couldn't stop shaking. The same way, he continued, voice dropping to barely a whisper. I know that what you just poured into my drink was sugar water. Time stopped. What? Akira's hand moved to cut my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. I switched the vials 3 days ago. The real poison is in my safe. What you used tonight was a placebo. But no, they gave me... I know what they gave you. His jaw tightened. I also know they've been setting you up to fail. The Rising Phoenix wanted you dead, Scarlet. This was never about killing me. It was about having an excuse to eliminate you. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. I don't understand. You will. He stood, pulling me up with him. But first you need to know something else. He crossed to the closet's back wall and pressed his palm against what looked like solid wood. A panel slid open, revealing a bank of monitors. Security feeds. Dozens of them. I bought your contract from the agency 6 months ago. Akira said quietly. The cleaning service you work for? I own it. Every employee, every assignment, every schedule, it all goes through my organization. The monitors showed angles of the penthouse I'd cleaned every week. The living room, the bedroom, the kitchen. My hands moved across each screen in recordings from weeks past. Dusting, vacuuming, always alone, always watched. You've been surveilling me? My voice sounded hollow. Protecting you. He turned to face me. The Rising Phoenix has been recruiting cleaners and service workers for assassinations for the past year. I've been tracking their operations, and you. His expression softened. You were different. You hesitated. Every time they sent you on an information-gathering assignment, you took only what was necessary. You never planted cameras in bedrooms, never stole personal items. You had a conscience, so you let me try to kill you? I built an immunity to aconitine over the past 5 years. He said it like it was nothing, like systematically poisoning yourself was a normal Tuesday activity. Small doses, gradually increasing. By the time you poured that vial tonight, whether it was real or fake, it wouldn't have done more than make me slightly nauseous. I sank against the wall. Everything I'd believed, everything I'd been told, everything I'd done, it was all a lie. A performance with an audience I'd never seen. Why? The question came out broken. Why go through all of this? Akira stepped closer, and I realized his eyes weren't cold at all. They were burning, because you tried to kill me and failed, Trisha Chen. He tilted my chin up with one finger. Do you know what that means in my world? It means you owe me a life. Asterisk. Your time's life. Everything you are and everything you love now belongs to me. My breath caught. Leo, your sister is fine. She's been under my protection since I bought your contract. The medical bills? Paid in full. The kidney transplant? Already scheduled for next month. I've had my people securing her safety while you were busy trying to murder me with sugar water. Relief and terror warred in my chest. I don't. What do you want from me? His smile was sharp enough to cut. The Rising Phoenix Triad sent you to kill me. They failed. Now I'm going to use you to destroy them from the inside out. I can't, they'll know I failed. They already know. He gestured to the monitors. They're expecting my body to be discovered in approximately 4 hours. Instead, they're going to get something much worse. What? Akira's expression went cold, the dragon on his chest seeming to coil tighter. They're going to get a war. He took my hand, and his grip was iron. You belong to me now, Trisha. Your life, your loyalty, your future. And together, we're going to burn the Red Lotus to the ground. The words hung in the air between us like a death sentence and a promise. I should have been terrified. Should have run. Should have done anything except stare at this dangerous, calculating man who'd orchestrated everything. My assignment, my failure, my salvation, and realize one terrible truth. He'd saved Leo. He'd saved me. And now, I had no choice but to help him wage his war. What do you need me to do? I whispered. Akira's smile was all teeth and shadows. First, you're going to die. You're insane. My voice cracked as Akira pulled me from the closet by my wrist, his grip firm but not bruising. You drank poison to mess with my head. I drank sugar water to prove a point. He led me through the doorway, past the shattered decanter and into his bedroom. There's a difference. The bedroom was all steel gray silk, and sharp edges, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city. A massive bed with black sheets that looked untouched. Furniture so minimalist it felt more like a temple than a living space. Everything was cold precision, except for the faint scent of sandalwood incense burning somewhere I couldn't see. I yanked my arm free, stumbling back until my spine hit the wall. My uniform was still damp with tears and sake, clinging to my brown skin in uncomfortable patches. You've been watching me for 8 months. You bought me like I'm livestock. You manipulated everything. And now you're telling me I owe you? Yes. He didn't even blink. And Leo? You just what? Decided she was yours to protect? You don't know her. You don't know me. I know you bite your thumbnail when you're anxious. His voice was infuriatingly calm as he crossed to the far wall. I know you skip lunch 3 days a week to save money. I know you sing to your sister over the phone every night at 9:15, the same lullaby your mother used to sing. Hush, little baby. Off key, but she doesn't care. The air left my lungs. He pressed his palm against what looked like seamless gray paneling. It slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a wall of monitors, at least 20 screens, all glowing with live feeds. My hands flew to my mouth. The cameras showed different angles of the penthouse. Yes, but also times a hospital room, stark white walls, medical equipment. And in the center, in a bed too big for her small frame, was Leo, my baby sister. Asleep, her chest rising and falling steadily, an IV taped to her thin arm. 2 men in dark suits flanked her door. Armed. She's been under my protection since the day she was admitted to Sacred Heart, Akira said quietly, stepping beside me. 4-man rotation, 8-hour shifts. Bulletproof glass installed in her window. Private floor, private nurses, all vetted by my organization. The Rising Phoenix wanted access to her to keep you compliant. I made sure they never got within 50 feet. I couldn't speak, couldn't process the image of my sister's safe, guarded, alive times, while I'd been choking on guilt in a closet. Why? The word came out strangled. You didn't know me. You had no reason to. I had every reason. He reached past me, tapping one of the monitors. A file opened, dense medical jargon, genetic sequences, my name at the top in bold letters. 6 months ago, my private physician confirmed what I'd suspected for 2 years. I have an inherited blood disorder, a genetic mutation so rare, it doesn't even have a proper name. My grandfather had it. It killed him at 43. His finger traced down the screen to a highlighted section. Standard treatments don't work. Chemotherapy is useless. The only viable option is a bone marrow transplant from a donor with a compatible genetic marker. Not just blood type, an exact match at the cellular level. 1 in 10 million odds. He turned to look at me, and his dark eyes were completely unreadable. You're 1 in 10 million, Trisha. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the desk to keep from collapsing. You need my bone marrow. Yes. So all of this is just you securing your spare parts? Rage bubbled up through the shock, hot and acidic. You let the triad plant me here so you could harvest me later? Is that it? No, his jaw tightened. I let them plant you because it was the only way to get you close without you running. If I'd approached you directly, a Yakuza boss offering to pay off your sister's medical bills in exchange for a transplant, you would have assumed I wanted to traffic you. Or worse, you would have disappeared, and I would have lost my only chance at survival. So, you manipulated me instead. Yes, no apology, no shame, just brutal honesty. I wanted to hit him. Wanted to scream. But my sister's face on that monitor kept pulling my attention, the steady beep of her heart monitor audible through the speakers. The triad knew, Akira continued, voice dropping. They knew I needed you. They've known about my condition for over a year. My grandmother made sure of it. Planting you here wasn't about killing me. It was about forcing my hand. Either I'd take the transplant and owe them your life, or I'd die and they'd absorb my territory. Your grandmother, his expression went arctic. Mei Jing, head of the Rising Phoenix Triad, my father's mother, and the woman who's been trying to destroy me since I refused to join her organization 8 years ago. The weight of that statement settled over the room like a shroud. She killed the last woman I loved, he said quietly, turning back to the monitors. Drove a car into her on a rainy night and made it look like an accident. I was 26. Aya was 24. We were going to leave, start fresh somewhere the blood feuds couldn't reach us. My grandmother found out and decided Aya was a distraction from my destiny. His hand curled into a fist against the desk. I've spent the last 8 years building an empire strong enough to burn hers to ash. But the disease started progressing faster than I anticipated. I was running out of time. Then your file crossed my desk, a cleaner with the red lotus, a sister with medical debt, and a genetic marker that could save my life. I knew they'd eventually use you against me, so I bought your contract first and waited. For what? For you to make a choice. He finally looked at me again, and something in his expression made my breath catch. The toxin you thought you were using tonight? Real aconitine would have triggered an immune response I've been building for 5 years. But I needed to see if you'd go through with it, if you'd hesitate, if you had enough of a conscience left that I could trust you. Trust me to what? Be your personal organ donor? Trust you to survive what comes next. His voice gentled, which somehow made it worse. The rising phoenix won't accept your failure. They'll come for Leo to punish you. They'll come for you to eliminate loose ends. And they'll come for me because that's what my grandmother does. She takes everything I care about and destroys it. The surveillance monitors flickered. One screen switched to a new feed, a parking garage, a black sedan, a man climbing out, his face partially obscured by a baseball cap. Akira's entire body went rigid. "Min," he said sharply, and I realized he was speaking into a small earpiece I hadn't noticed before. "Garage. Now." He tapped a button, zooming in on the man's face. Even through the grainy footage, I recognized him. Tyrell. My brother-in-law. Leo's father. "What is he doing here?" I whispered. Akira didn't answer. He was already pulling up another file, this one marked with Tyrell's name. Photos spilled across the screen. Tyrell at a casino, chips stacked in front of him. Tyrell shaking hands with a woman in red. Bank statements showing deposits of $50,000. And then, at the bottom, a document labeled Times Vulnerability Assessment, Target, Cho Ya-jun. I read the first line and felt my heart stop. Subject's mistress, Trisha Parker, has been placed in Target's household via employment contract. Subject's daughter, Lana Parker, age 10, is currently hospitalized with complications from intentionally induced kidney failure. Intentionally induced? My voice didn't sound like my own. The Rising Phoenix has a chemist, Akira said flatly. Specializes in custom diseases. They infected Leo with a toxin designed to destroy her kidneys slowly enough that it looked like natural organ failure. Then they used her medical crisis to leverage you. The room spun. I grabbed the desk harder, knuckles going pale. Tyrell sold you both out for gambling debts, Akira continued, each word a hammer blow. He gave them your work schedule, your psych profile, Leo's medical records, everything they needed to turn you into an assassin. The $50,000 covered his losses and bought his compliance. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think past the roaring in my ears. He's not family anymore, Akira said quietly, stepping closer. He's a liability. A man who traded blood for cash doesn't deserve the title of father or brother. He's leverage the triad will use against us if we let him live. He's Leo's father. He sold his daughter's health for a poker game. Akira's voice was ice. That makes him nothing. The door burst open. A man in a sharp suit strode in, Asian, early 30s, with a scar cutting through his left eyebrow. Min, I assumed. His expression was grim. Boss, the triad called. Akira's jaw tightened. And they want proof of death by noon. Min's gaze flicked to me, then back to Akira. If they don't get it, they're sending a team to Sacred Heart. They said they'll start with the girl's fingers and work their way up. The world went white hot. No. I lunged forward, but Akira caught me around the waist, hauling me back against his chest. Breathe, he ordered, his voice cutting through my panic. They'll hurt her. They'll kill her. They won't. His grip tightened, almost painful. Min, move Leo, now. Use the secondary facility. Full lockdown protocol. Already in motion. Teams en route. Good. Stall the triad. Tell them I'm preparing the proof, but the body needs staging to avoid police attention. Buy us 6 hours. Min nodded and disappeared. I was shaking so hard my teeth chattered. Akira turned me in his arms, forcing me to meet his eyes. Listen to me, he said, low and fierce. They're not going to touch her. I've been preparing for this since the moment I bought your contract. Leo is already being moved to a facility they can't access underground. Military-grade security. Doctors I personally vet. She'll be safer there than she's ever been. You don't know that. I built that facility for this exact scenario. His hands came up to cup my face, thumbs brushing away tears I hadn't realized were falling. You wanted to know why I care? Why I'd go through all this for a cleaner and her dying sister. He released me, stepping back. His hands went to the hem of his shirt. Here's your answer. He pulled the shirt over his head in one fluid motion, and I forgot how to breathe. The dragon was just the centerpiece. Scars crisscrossed his torso, some surgical, clean lines that spoke of medical intervention. Others were jagged, violent, a puckered bullet wound near his ribs. Burns along his left side, the skin shiny and discolored, something that looked like a stab wound just below his collarbone. Every time my grandmother has tried to take something from me, Akira said quietly, I've lost. She killed Aya. She destroyed my father's legitimate businesses. She turned half my own organization against me with bribes and blackmail. I've spent 8 years bleeding, and I'm tired of losing. He stepped closer, and I could see the muscle working in his jaw. Then you walked into my penthouse with your cheap uniform and your sad eyes and your ridiculous plan to poison me with a toxin I've been immune to for years. And I realized something. His hand came up, fingers ghosting along my jawline. I could take what I needed from you, harvest your bone marrow, save my own life, and let the triad clean up the mess. That would be the smart play. The expected play. His thumb traced my lower lip. But I don't want to take from you, Trisha. I want to give times you everything. Your sister's health, your freedom, a life where you don't have to scrub floors and poison strangers to survive. I want to give you safety and security, and a future where the monsters can't reach you. Why? The word came out broken. Because you're mine now. His voice dropped to barely a whisper, but it filled the entire room. Leo is mine, and anyone who tries to take what's mine ends up in the ground. The conviction in his voice was absolute, terrifying, intoxicating. So here's what's going to happen, Akira continued, releasing me. You're going to sleep. You're going to eat breakfast. And tomorrow morning, you're going to read a file I've been compiling for the past 4 months. He crossed to his desk, pulling out a thick folder. He set it on the bed between us like a challenge. Everything in there is proof of Tyrell's betrayal. Photos, bank records, communications with the triad. Every piece of evidence that shows he sold you both for 30 pieces of silver. His expression was carved from stone. When you're done reading, you're going to tell me what you want me to do about it. Because this is your choice now, not mine. I stared at the folder like it might bite me. And then, Akira said softly, we're going to start preparing for war. He moved toward the door, pausing in the threshold. His bare back was to me, the dragon seeming to writhe in the low light. Get some rest, Trisha. Tomorrow everything changes. The door closed behind him with a soft click. I was alone in a Yakuza boss's bedroom, surrounded by surveillance feeds of my guarded sister, and a folder full of proof that the man I'd called family had sold us both. I picked up the folder with trembling hands, and I started reading. Dawn came too soon, and not soon enough. I hadn't slept, couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Tyrell's face smiling at me across Thanksgiving dinner, bouncing Leo on his knee, promising he'd take care of the medical bills. Don't worry, Trish. I've got this covered. Family takes care of family. Lies. All of it. The folder sat open on my lap. Photos scattered across the black silk sheets. Tyrell at the Golden Dragon Casino. Date stamped 2 weeks before Leo's diagnosis. Tyrell meeting with a woman in a red kipao Mei Xing, according to the notation. Bank statements showing the $50,000 deposit, followed by smaller withdrawals. Receipts from the casino. More gambling. More debt. And at the bottom, the worst one. A medical report with Leo's name, her blood type, her kidney function, declining in a pattern too perfect to be natural. Administered via contaminated children's vitamins, someone had written in the margin, slow-acting nephrotoxin. Designed to avoid detection. They'd poisoned my baby sister for leverage, and Tyrell had given them the access to do it. The bedroom door opened. I didn't look up. You should be sleeping. Akira's voice softer than I expected. Read faster than I sleep. He moved into my peripheral vision, carrying a tray. The scent of coffee and warm bread made my stomach clench. I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten. He set it on the nightstand within reach, then lowered himself into the chair across from the bed. He'd changed into dark slacks and a crisp white shirt. Sleeves rolled to his elbows. The dragon's tail peeked out near his wrist. "The deposit happened 3 days before Leo got sick," I said, my voice eerily calm. He knew. He knew what they were going to do to her, and he took the money anyway. Akira said nothing, just watched me with those steady dark eyes. He used to call her his little lotus flower. I laughed, but it came out jagged. Said she was the prettiest thing he'd ever helped create. He cried when she was born. Cried, I thought. My voice cracked. I thought he loved her. He loved himself more. Akira leaned forward, elbows on his knees. The Triad is good at finding people like that. People who value comfort over conscience. They offer them a way out of their problems. And by the time the debt comes due, it's too late to back out. I looked at him directly for the first time since he'd entered. Did you give him a way out? No. Flat. Honest. I found him 6 weeks ago. Tracked his movements. Confirmed he was the leak. I've had him under surveillance ever since. He knows the Triad wants proof of my death, and he's terrified he'll be the one blamed when they don't get it. Good. The word tasted like poison, like rage. He should be terrified. Akira's expression shifted, something almost like approval flickering across his features. Mei Xing chose the disease specifically, he said quietly. Kidney failure is slow. Expensive. It keeps you desperate and compliant for months. And children's organs are easier to manipulate. From a medical standpoint, they figured if you failed to kill me, they could use Leo as a harvesting source for their own operatives. Bile rose in my throat. She's 10. She's leverage. His voice hardened. That's all my grandmother sees when she looks at anyone outside her organization. Resources to be used or eliminated. That's why she killed Aya. My girlfriend-fiancé. Really, though we never made it official, wasn't useful. She didn't have connections or skills the Triad could exploit. She was just a woman I loved, and that made her a weakness. He stood, moving to the window. The city stretched out below, waking up in shades of gold and gray. Mei Xing runs the rising phoenix like a dynasty. Her sons and grandsons are soldiers. Her daughters and granddaughters are strategists. I was supposed to take over the smuggling operations when I turned 25. She had my whole life planned out: who I'd marry, how many children I'd produce, which territories I'd control. But you refused. I walked away and started building my own syndicate, legitimate businesses on the surface, with just enough shadow work underneath to stay competitive. Real estate, shipping, private security. I wanted to prove you could have power without drowning in blood. His reflection in the window looked tired. She saw it as betrayal. And my grandmother doesn't forgive betrayal. So she killed the woman you loved. Yes. And when I retaliated by cutting off 3 of her supply routes, she killed my second-in-command's wife and children. When I expanded into territory she considered hers, she had my accountant's hands broken. She spent 8 years teaching me that caring about anyone makes me vulnerable. He turned back to face me, and his eyes were burning. Then you showed up, and I realized I'd rather be vulnerable than empty. I'd rather fight for something that matters than spend the rest of my short life bleeding alone. The room was too quiet, too charged. She'll kill me, I said. When she finds out I failed. She'll try. Akira moved closer, standing at the foot of the bed. That's why we need to move first. The bone marrow transplant can wait. I've stabilized for now with transfusions. What matters is getting Leo somewhere the Triad can't reach, and making sure Mei Xing understands that coming after you means going through me. How do we do that? Before he could answer, the door slammed open. Min burst in, his usual composure shattered. Boss, they called. They're demanding proof of death by noon or they start mutilating Leo, Akira finished, his voice dropping to sub-zero. I heard you the first time. It's worse. Min's jaw worked. They sent a video. The girl's in some kind of medical facility. Not Sacred Heart. My blood turned to ice. What? Min pulled out his phone, turning it toward us. The screen showed my Leo Times strapped to a hospital bed in a room I didn't recognize. Her eyes were wide and terrified, tear tracks staining her brown cheeks. A woman's hand appeared in frame, adjusting an IV line. Then a voice cold and measured. Asterisk. Your sister failed, Little Lotus. Now you pay the price. 1 finger per hour until Trisha delivers the proof. Starting at noon. Asterisk. The video cut off. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't see past the red haze descending over my vision. They have her. You said she was safe, you promised. She was safe. Akira's voice was sharp as a blade. He turned to Min. How? We're still piecing it together. Looks like they hit the secondary facility during the transition. Grabbed her from the ambulance before our team could get her inside. How many men? At least 8. Professional extraction. They knew the route, the timing. Someone talked. Akira's words cut through the room like a whip. Find them. I want every person involved in Leo's transfer interrogated within the hour. If there's a leak in my organization, I want them bleeding out by sunset. Min nodded and vanished. The silence that followed was suffocating. I stood, my legs barely holding me. You said you'd protect her. I know. You said she was safe. I know. His composure was cracking, something wild and desperate breaking through. And I will fix this. I swear to you, Trisha, I will burn this entire city down before I let them hurt her. Swearing doesn't help. I was screaming now, months of terror and exhaustion finally spilling over. She's alone and terrified, and they're going to times torture times her because I couldn't kill you, because I'm not strong enough. Akira crossed the room in 2 strides, gripping my shoulders. Stop. I can't. Look at me. His hands moved to cup my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. You want to know why I care? Why I'd risk everything for you? Here's your answer. He released me and backed up 3 steps. Then he started unbuttoning his shirt. What are you? The shirt hit the floor. The dragon glared at me from his chest, but it was the scars that made my breath catch. More than I'd seen last night. Dozens of them, layered like a map of violence. Burns and bullets and blade work. A life written in scar tissue. Every single one of these, Akira said quietly, came from trying to protect something. My father's business. My men. My territory. Every time I cared about something, someone used it to hurt me. So I stopped caring. I became the monster everyone expected. Efficient, ruthless, untouchable. He stepped closer, and I could see his pulse hammering in his throat. Then you walked into my life, and I started caring again. About you. About Leo. About having something worth protecting instead of just territory worth defending. And yes, I failed. They took her because I underestimated how far Mei Xing would go. But I am going to get her back, Trisha. Not because I need your bone marrow, not because you owe me, but because you're mine now. His hand pressed over his heart, over the dragon's head. Leo is mine. You are mine. And anyone who tries to take what's mine ends up in the ground. That's not a threat. That's a promise written in every scar on my body. I stared at him, this dangerous, damaged man who'd orchestrated my entire life for the past 8 months, who'd watched me through cameras and manipulated my circumstances and could kill without hesitation, who was looking at me like I was the only thing keeping him human. What do you need me to do? My voice steadied. To get her back. Something fierce and possessive flashed across his face. You need to become someone Mei Xing can't predict. Someone who'll walk into her stronghold and smile while the world burns around her. Can you do that? I thought of Leo strapped to that bed. Thought of Tyrell counting his blood money. Thought of 8 months scrubbing floors and swallowing poison and trying to survive. Yes, the word came out cold. Final. Tell me how. Akira's smile was all teeth and shadows. First, you're going to help me stage my death. Then we're going to deliver proof to Mei Xing that will buy us 12 hours. And while she's celebrating my demise, we're going to infiltrate her compound and take back what's ours. And Tyrell? His expression went flat, emotionless. What about him? You said it was my choice. What happens to him? Akira held my gaze, waiting. I looked down at the photos scattered across the bed. $50,000. A poisoned child. A man who'd called me times, sister times, while selling us both. He stopped being family the day he sold my daughter, I said quietly. Now he's just a liability. And what do we do with liabilities? I met Akira's eyes, and something fundamental shifted inside me. Something that felt like grief but tasted like freedom. We eliminate them. Akira's smile widened, sharp and approving. He picked up his shirt, shrugging it back on. Get dressed. We have a death to stage and a war to start. And Trisha? He paused at the door. Welcome to the Monster Club. Membership comes with blood on your hands and no way back. The door closed. I stood alone in his bedroom, surrounded by evidence of betrayal and the promise of violence. And for the first time in 8 months, I didn't feel like I was drowning. I felt like I was learning to breathe underwater. The dress Akira had laid out for me wasn't a costume. It was a weapon. Deep emerald silk that clung to every curve, cut low enough to be distracting but high enough to maintain an edge of class. The fabric whispered against my brown skin as I moved, catching the light in ways that made me look expensive, dangerous, like someone who belonged in a Yakuza boss's world instead of scrubbing his floors. I almost didn't recognize myself in the mirror. The earpiece goes here. Min appeared behind me, holding a tiny flesh-colored device. Boss wants constant communication during the meet. If anything goes sideways, you tap twice and we extract. I held still as he fitted it into my ear, the tech barely visible against my skin. And what counts as sideways in your world? Guns. Threats against your life. The queen putting her hands on you in any way that isn't a handshake. His expression was grim. She likes to test people, push boundaries, make them uncomfortable to see how they react. Don't give her the satisfaction. What if she asks about the poison? She won't. She already knows it was fake. She's the one who swapped the vials. Min stepped back, assessing me. The whole thing was a setup to see if you'd go through with it. If you'd break under pressure. She wants to know if you're weak enough to manipulate or strong enough to be a threat. My stomach clenched. And which am I? That's what today decides. He handed me a small clutch purse. Inside is pepper spray disguised as lipstick and a panic button disguised as a compact. Use them if you have to. But the goal is to walk out of there with Leo's location and your life intact. No pressure. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. You're holding up better than most people would. The boss chose well. Before I could process that, the bedroom door opened. Akira stepped through, and the air shifted. He dressed to intimidate. Black suit tailored so precisely it looked painted on. White shirt open at the collar to show the dragon's head. Hair swept back to expose the sharp angles of his face. But it was his eyes that made my breath catch focused and predatory, like he was already 3 steps ahead of everyone in the room. You look perfect. His gaze swept over me, lingering just long enough to make my skin flush. Mei Jing will think I've claimed you as a consort. Let her think it. The more she underestimates your role, the more space we have to maneuver. And what is my role? I kept my voice steady. Besides looking pretty and staying quiet, you're my weakness. He crossed the room, stopping close enough that I could smell his cologne, cedar, and smoke. The woman I couldn't help protecting, even knowing it was a trap. You're supposed to be fragile, grateful, desperately in love with your dangerous captor. His hand came up, tilting my chin. Can you play that role? I thought of Leo screaming in that video. Thought of Tyrell's smiling betrayal. Thought of 8 months living in fear. I can play whatever role keeps my sister alive. Something flickered in his expression, approval mixed with regret. Good. Because the moment we walk into that tea house, everything becomes performance. Mei Xing will be watching for any sign that you're not what you appear to be. One wrong move. One moment of defiance. And she'll know you're more dangerous than I'm letting on. And that's bad because dangerous women don't make good hostages. His thumb brushed my lower lip. And if she can't use you against me, she'll just kill you outright. The weight of that settled over me like a burial shroud. The car's ready, Min said from the doorway. 20-minute drive to the International District. Queen's already at the tea house with her security detail. Akira's hand dropped from my face. Then let's not keep her waiting. The drive was silent, except for the city sounds filtering through bulletproof windows. Min drove, his eyes constantly scanning mirrors. Akira sat beside me in the back, close enough that our thighs touched, his hand resting possessively on my knee, playing the role even when no one was watching. Tell me about Aya, I said quietly. His fingers tensed against my leg. Why? Because you mentioned her twice. And both times you looked like someone had gutted you. If I'm supposed to be the woman you couldn't help protecting, I should know about the woman you couldn't save. The silence stretched so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, she was a violinist, played with the city orchestra. We met at a charity gala my father forced me to attend. I was bored out of my skull until I heard her play Vivaldi. She made the music sound like it was alive. Dangerous. Beautiful. His voice went soft. Afterward, I cornered her at the bar and told her I'd pay any amount to have her play at my private events. She laughed in my face and said I couldn't afford her. Despite everything, I felt my lips twitch. She had standards. She had spine. Refused to be impressed by my money or my connections. Made me work for every conversation, every dinner, every moment of her time. It took me 6 months to convince her to date me, and another year before she agreed to move in. His hand moved in slow circles on my knee, a gesture that seemed unconscious. My grandmother hated her on sight. Said she was too independent, too Western, not the kind of woman who'd produce obedient heirs. What did Aya say to that? She told Mei Xing that she'd rather die than raise children in a crime family. His laugh was bitter. 2 weeks later she did. Rainy night, dark road, a car that ran a red light and T-boned her driver's side. The other driver was one of my grandmother's enforcers. He survived without a scratch. My hand found his, lacing our fingers together. I'm sorry. Don't be. I got my revenge. The enforcer who killed her is buried in the foundation of my shipping warehouse. And Mei Xing lost 3 of her most profitable routes when I cut her supply chains in retaliation. His grip tightened. But it didn't bring Aya back. And it didn't make me feel anything except empty. Until he looked at me, and his eyes were raw. Until I saw you singing to your sister over the phone at 3 in the morning, exhausted from double shifts, still finding the energy to make her laugh. Until I watched you skip meals to save money for her medication. Until I realized you were fighting the same war I'd been fighting, trying to protect something precious in a world designed to take it from you. The car slowed. Min's voice cut through the moment. We're here. I looked out the window. The tea house sat at the end of a narrow street in the International District, all dark wood and paper lanterns. Beautiful and serene, like stepping into another century. Guards flanked the entrance, massive men in suits that barely contained their bulk. One more thing, Akira said, his hand moving to cup my face. If she puts a gun to your head, don't flinch. Don't beg. Look her in the eye, and let her see that you're not afraid to die. Predators respect prey that doesn't run. And if she pulls the trigger, his smile was sharp enough to cut, then I'll burn her empire to ash before your body hits the floor. He leaned in and kissed me fierce and possessive, tasting like coffee and determination. It wasn't gentle, wasn't romantic. It was a brand, a claim, a promise that I belonged to him and anyone who touched me would pay in blood. When he pulled back, my lips were tingling and my heart was racing. Ready? He asked. I thought of Leo. Thought of Tyrell's betrayal. Thought of the woman in the video threatening to cut off my sister's fingers. Ready. The car door opened. Akira stepped out first, then offered me his hand. I took it, letting him pull me from the car and into the role we were playing. The fragile woman, the protected consort, the weakness he couldn't hide. We walked toward the tea house together, and I felt the weight of a dozen eyes tracking our movement. Guards assessing, calculating. The entrance doors slid open, and there, seated at a low table surrounded by silk cushions and burning incense, was Mei Xing. She looked nothing like I'd imagined. 70 years old at least, but her posture was ramrod straight, her silver hair swept into an elegant bun. She wore a crimson qipao embroidered with golden phoenixes, her hands folded serenely in her lap. Beautiful, refined, absolutely terrifying. Grandson. Her voice was cultured silk. How unexpected. I was told you'd be indisposed. Plans changed. Akira's hand tightened on mine as we approached. Grandmother. Her gaze slid to me, and I felt it like a physical touch. Assessing every detail, my dress, my posture, the way I leaned slightly into Akira's side. And you've brought a pet. She smiled, and it didn't reach her eyes. How? Sentimental. I kept my expression neutral. Subservient. Let her see what she expected. She's under my protection, Akira said flatly. Harm her, and our arrangement ends. What arrangement would that be? The one where your little spy tries to poison you and fails? Mei Xing gestured to the cushions opposite her. Sit. We have much to discuss. We lowered ourselves to the cushions, Akira keeping me close. A server appeared with tea, pouring with practiced efficiency before vanishing. The girl, Akira said without preamble. Leo, where is she? Safe, fed, relatively comfortable, considering. Mei Xing sipped her tea. She's quite pretty. Looks just like her mother, doesn't she? My hands clenched in my lap. Akira's thumb traced soothing circles on my wrist. I came to negotiate her release. Did you? The queen's eyebrows rose. And what could you possibly offer me that's worth more than the leverage she provides? The research. Akira's voice was ice. 5 years of genetic testing, treatment protocols, immunity building. Everything I've learned about combating inherited blood disorders. All of it. Encrypted on a single drive, in exchange for the girl's safe return. Mei Xing went very still. You'd give me the cure to your condition? I'd give you the data. What you do with it is your concern. And what's to stop me from simply taking it? You're in my territory, surrounded by my men, offering me something I could extract from you through less pleasant means. Akira's smile was cold, because the encryption is biometric, requires my living fingerprint and retinal scan every 72 hours, or the data corrupts permanently. Kill me, and you lose everything. Clever. She set down her teacup with deliberate care, but not clever enough. You see, grandson, I don't need your research. I have something much better. She snapped her fingers. One of the guards produced a tablet, turning it to face us. The screen showed Leo, still strapped to the bed, but now there was a doctor beside her, examining her arms, taking measurements. Turns out, Meg Singh said conversationally, children's organs are remarkably adaptable, and your little spy's daughter is a perfect candidate for harvesting. Her kidneys, once we've flushed the toxins from her system, will fetch a substantial price on the medical black market. Her liver, her corneas, her bone marrow, all valuable commodities. I lunged forward before I could stop myself. You can't. Akira's arm locked around my waist, hauling me back. Trisha, don't. She's going to butcher a child. I know. His voice was strained. But breaking composure won't save her. Mei Xing watched our exchange with clinical interest. So protective. How refreshing. Tell me, dear, how does it feel to know your sister is being dissected piece by piece because you couldn't complete one simple task? My vision went red. Akira's grip tightened, keeping me pinned against him. 24 hours, he said, his voice cutting through my rage. Give me 24 hours to deliver the research and prove I can decrypt it. If I fail, you can do whatever you want with the girl. What's to stop you from simply fleeing with your pet? She stays here. The words dropped like stones. Collateral. You release Leo. I deliver the research. You return Trisha. Everyone walks away intact. The world stopped spinning. Mei Xing's smile widened. Now we're negotiating. But I have a better proposal. The girl stays with me. You deliver the research within 12 hours. And your pet, she gestured lazily. She stays here as well. If you return with usable data, you get them both back. If you don't, I sell the child's organs and send you your lover's head in a box. No. Akira's voice was granite. Then we have nothing further to discuss. Mei Xing stood. Guards, escort them. Wait. I heard my own voice, distant and strange. I'll stay. Akira's head whipped toward me. What? I looked at him, putting every ounce of false adoration into my expression. If it saves Leo, I'll stay. You've protected me this far. I trust you. It was perfect. Exactly what a desperate, love-struck woman would say. And I watched Mei Xing's expression shift from triumph to calculation. How noble. She studied me with new interest. Perhaps you're more than just a pretty face. Very well. You stay. My grandson has 12 hours to deliver functional research data. If he succeeds, you both walk free. If he fails, she leaned closer, and her breath smelled like jasmine and poison. I'll let you watch your sister's autopsy before I slit your throat. Understood. My voice didn't shake. Akira's hand found mine under the table, squeezing hard enough to hurt. A warning, a promise. I'll come back for you. Then we have an accord. Mei Xing clapped her hands once. Guards, take Miss Parker to the guest suite. Make her comfortable. 2 men moved toward me. Akira rose slowly, his entire body vibrating with barely contained violence. 12 hours, he said quietly. You'll have your data. I'm sure I will. Mei Xing's smile was razor sharp. And grandson, don't try anything foolish. I'd hate to lose you both. The guards took my arms, not rough but firm. I looked back at Akira as they led me toward the door, and what I saw in his face made my breath catch. Not fear, not defeat, fury, pure, focused, lethal fury. The doors closed between us, and I was alone with the Queen's men. I'd just become bait in a trap I didn't fully understand. But as they led me down the hallway, I heard Akira's voice crackle through the hidden earpiece. Asterisk. Trust me. I gave her nothing she can use. The research is encrypted with a dead man's switch. And in 12 hours, we're burning this place to the ground. Asterisk. I pressed my tongue to the roof of my mouth, the signal for acknowledgement, and I started counting down. The guest suite was a gilded cage. Silk wallpaper, antique furniture, a bed with sheets so fine they probably cost more than my car. But the windows were barred, the door locked from the outside, and when I tested the ornate brass handle, it didn't budge. I was alone. I paced the room, counting steps. 15 from door to window, 8 from bed to bathroom. The earpiece was silent now. Akira had gone radio quiet after his last message. Smart. Mei Xing would be monitoring for electronic signals. 12 hours. I checked my reflection in the bathroom mirror. The dress was still perfect, makeup still flawless. I looked like someone who belonged in this world of expensive things and casual violence, like I'd been born to play this role. The woman staring back at me wasn't the same one who'd cried in Akira's closet 24 hours ago. That woman had been desperate, broken, ready to commit murder for a chance at survival. This woman was calculating, watching, learning the patterns of her captors. Footsteps in the hallway. I moved away from the door, positioning myself near the window, vulnerable but not cowering. Let them see what they expected. The lock clicked. A guard entered, carrying a tray of food. Middle-aged, Chinese, with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. He set the tray on the side table without meeting my eyes. Eat, Queen's orders. Where's Leo? I kept my voice soft, pleading. My sister, is she okay? His jaw tightened, but he didn't answer. Just turned to leave. Please. I took a step toward him. I just need to know she's not hurt. That's all. Just tell me she's safe. For a moment, I thought he'd ignore me. Then, the girls in the medical wing, unharmed, doctors monitoring her vitals. His expression was carefully neutral. Queen wants her healthy for the harvest. The words hit like a physical blow, but I forced myself to nod. Thank you. He left without another word. The lock clicked behind him. I stood frozen, processing. Medical wing, monitoring, harvest. The earpiece crackled to life. Did you get that? I tapped my ear twice. Yes. Good. Medical wing is east side, 3rd floor. Min's pulling the building schematics now. We're 8 hours out from extraction. Stay ready. The line went dead again. I moved to the tray, examining the food. Rice, steamed vegetables, tea. I didn't touch any of it, couldn't risk sedatives. Instead, I went to the window, studying the bars. Ornamental, but solid. No way through without tools. The minutes crawled by. I counted them, watching the shadows shift across the floor as the sun moved. Somewhere in this building, Leo was strapped to a bed, surrounded by people who saw her as inventory. And Tyrell, wherever he was, had put her there. The rage that thought sparked was clean. Sharp. It burned through the fear and left something harder behind. Focus. Survive. Get Leo. Make them pay. 4 hours passed. The light outside dimmed to twilight. No one came to check on me, which meant they were confident in their security. Confident I was contained. Mistake. I'd spent 8 months cleaning penthouses, learning patterns. Guards rotated every 4 hours. Cameras covered hallways, but not corners. Locks could be picked if you knew how to use a hairpin. And I'd learned how to use a hairpin in the group home I'd lived in before my mother died. I pulled 2 pins from my hair, straightening them carefully. Moved to the door and crouched, working the pins into the lock. It took me 6 tries and 10 minutes of careful pressure before I felt the mechanism give. The door opened. I waited, counting heartbeats. No alarm, no rush of footsteps. I slipped into the hallway, keeping to the shadows. The building was older than I'd realized. Wooden floors that creaked if you stepped wrong. Paper screens instead of solid walls in some sections. Beautiful, traditional, full of acoustic nightmares for someone trying to move silently. East side, 3rd floor. I found the stairs and climbed, avoiding the center of each step where the wood was most worn. A guard passed below me, talking into a radio in Mandarin. I pressed myself against the wall until he was gone. 3rd floor. The hallway stretched ahead, lit by paper lanterns that cast dancing shadows. I could hear voices, muffled conversation behind one of the doors. Medical equipment beeping. Leo. I moved toward the sound, my heart hammering so loud I was sure someone would hear it. Reached the door. Pressed my ear against the wood. Vitals are stable. We can begin the procedure at 0600. Queen wants the kidneys extracted first. Highest market value. I didn't think. Just shoved the door open. 3 people inside. A doctor in surgical scrubs, a nurse checking an IV bag, and a guard standing near the bed where Leo lay sleeping. Her small body looked even smaller against the white sheets. Her dark hair spread across the pillow. They all turned to stare at me. The guard reached for his weapon. I grabbed the nearest object, a metal tray, and hurled it at his face. It connected with a satisfying crunch. He stumbled back, and I was already moving, grabbing the IV stand and swinging it like a bat. The nurse screamed. The doctor lunged for an alarm button on the wall. I tackled him, my hands scrabbling for anything to use as a weapon. Found a scalpel on the surgical tray. Pressed it against his throat hard enough to draw blood. Touch that alarm and I'll open your carotid. He froze. The guard was on his knees, blood streaming from his broken nose. The nurse had backed into the corner, hands raised. Keys, I said to the guard. For the restraints. Now. He fumbled them from his belt, tossing them across the floor. I snatched them up with my free hand, keeping the scalpel pressed to the doctor's throat. Unlock her. The nurse moved with shaking hands, releasing the straps holding Leo to the bed. My sister's eyes fluttered open, confused and scared. Trish? Her voice was so small. I'm here, baby. We're leaving. The earpiece crackled. Asterisk. Trisha, what the hell is happening? We're picking up elevated heart rates. Asterisk. Change of plans, I said aloud, not caring who heard. I've got Leo. We're coming out now. Negative. Building still locked down. You won't make it 10 feet. Then meet us halfway. I grabbed Leo, hauling her into my arms. She was heavier than I remembered, solid and real. The doctor tried to twist away from the scalpel. I pressed harder. Stay down. Count to 100 before you move. Then I ran. Out the door, down the hallway. Leo's arms wrapped around my neck. Alarms started blaring. Someone had hit the panic button. Footsteps thundered from every direction. East stairwell. Akira's voice was sharp in my ear. Now. I found the stairs and took them 2 at a time, Leo bouncing against my chest. She was crying, terrified. I couldn't stop to comfort her. Couldn't slow down. Ground floor. The exit was 20 feet ahead, guarded by 2 men who were just realizing something was wrong. I didn't slow, just lowered my shoulder and charged. The first guard caught me around the waist. We went down in a tangle of limbs, Leo screaming. I still had the scalpel, drove it into his arm. He roared and released me. The second guard grabbed Leo. Red descended over my vision. I launched myself at him, clawing, biting, using every dirty trick I'd learned growing up in neighborhoods where girls learned to fight or died. I got my fingers in his eyes. He dropped Leo with a shout. Run, baby outside, run. Leo scrambled toward the door. I was right behind her, but hands caught my ankle, dragged me back. I kicked viciously, connected with something that crunched. Someone screamed, then I was free, bursting through the exit into the cool night air. A black SUV screeched to a halt in front of the building. The door flew open. Get in, Akira. Leaning out, one arm extended, blood staining his white shirt. I grabbed Leo and dove for the car. Hands hauled us inside. Gunfire erupted behind us, glass shattering, bullets punching through metal. The SUV peeled away from the curb, tires screaming. I landed in the back seat with Leo on top of me, both of us gasping. Min was driving, his face grim. And Akira, he'd been shot. Blood soaked through his shirt near his ribs, fresh and bright red. You're hit. Flesh wound? He pressed a hand to the injury, his jaw tight. Are you hurt? No, Leo. I turned to my sister, checking her over frantically. Bruises on her wrists from the restraints, needle marks on her arms, but alive, breathing. Asterisk. Safe. Asterisk. I'm okay, she whispered, clinging to me. Trish, I'm okay. I pulled her against my chest and felt something break inside me. All the fear and rage and desperate hope of the past 24 hours came crashing down, and I couldn't stop the sobs that tore from my throat. Akira's hand found the back of my neck, his touch gentle despite the violence still humming through him. You did good. Better than good. You just declared war on the most dangerous woman in the city and walked out with your sister. He coughed, wincing. That's magnificent. You're bleeding out. I've had worse. But his face was pale, pain etched into every line. More gunfire behind us. Min took a corner so sharp we all slammed against the doors. They're following. 3 cars, Queen's personal detail, then lose them. Akira's voice was steady despite the blood seeping through his fingers. Working on it. The city blurred past narrow streets, sharp turns, pedestrians diving out of the way. The pursuing cars stayed close, relentless. One pulled alongside us. Windows rolled down. Guns appeared. Down! Akira shoved me and Leo to the floor, covering us with his body as bullets tore through the passenger side. Glass rained down. Metal shrieked. Min swerved hard, clipping the other car. It spun out, crashing into a storefront. But 2 more were still coming. Warehouse district, Akira said through gritted teeth. The abandoned factory on 5th. We'll bottleneck them there. Boss, you can't fight like this. I can, and I will. He pulled a gun from his shoulder holster, checking the magazine with practiced efficiency. When I say jump, you take Trisha and Leo and you run. Don't look back. Don't wait for me. Just times run. Asterisk. No, my voice was iron. We're not leaving you. He looked at me then, and his eyes were burning. If they catch you, everything we've done is for nothing. Leo dies. You die. And I've failed again. His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheek. I told you before, anyone who tries to take what's mine ends up in the ground. That includes me. I'm not letting them have you. The SUV skidded into an alley, pulling up beside a rusted factory door. Abandoned buildings loomed on all sides, dark and silent. Go. Akira shoved the door open. Min, get them to the laundromat on 7th. Owner's on our payroll. Hide in the back until I call. Akira, he kissed me, hard and desperate, tasting like copper and goodbye. When he pulled back, his expression was fierce. I'll come for you. I always come for you. Then he was out of the car, limping toward the factory entrance. Min grabbed my arm. We have to move. Now. I clutched Leo and ran, my heels catching on broken concrete. Behind us, the pursuing cars screeched to a halt. Doors slammed, shouts in Mandarin. Then, silence. I stopped running, turning back despite Min's urgent pulling. Akira stood alone in the mouth of the alley, 9 men advancing on him. He dropped his gun on the ground in front of him, raised his hands in surrender. What are you doing? The men surrounded him, weapons trained on his chest. The leader said something I couldn't hear. Akira responded, his voice carrying across the distance. Your grandmother wanted proof I'm mortal. Here it is. Tell her she wins. He was giving up. Giving up. No. The word tore from my throat. No, you can't. Everything happened at once. Akira dropped to the ground as the first man squeezed his trigger. The bullet went high. Akira's hand went to his ankle, pulling a second gun I hadn't known he was carrying. He fired once, twice, 2 men dropped. Then he was moving, a blur of violence that seemed impossible for someone bleeding from a gunshot wound. He used the first body as a shield, firing over the corpse's shoulder. 3 more men fell. The remaining 4 rushed him. He met them with brutal efficiency. A gun used as a club, breaking teeth and shattering bones. An elbow to a throat, a knee to a groin. He moved like violence given form, like every scar on his body had taught him a new way to kill. It was over in 30 seconds. 9 men down. Akira standing among the bodies, chest heaving, blood dripping from his wounds. He looked up, finding me across the distance. And even from here, I could see the question in his eyes. Are you afraid of me now? I should have been. Should have been terrified of the man who just killed 9 people with clinical precision. But all I felt was a fierce, burning certainty. He'd done it for me. For Leo. For the promise he'd made. Anyone who tries to take what's mine ends up in the ground. Sirens wailed in the distance. Min cursed, pulling at my arm. We have to go. Police will be here in minutes. Akira limped toward us, his face gray with pain. He made it 3 steps before his legs buckled. I tore free from Min's grip and ran to him, catching him before he hit the ground. His weight nearly took us both down, but I held on, my arms around his waist. Stubborn woman, he muttered against my hair. Reckless man. I pressed my hand over his wound, trying to slow the bleeding. Why did you drop your gun? You could have been killed. Because I needed them close. His breath was ragged. Close enough that they'd cluster. Close enough that I could take them all before they scattered. It's called tactical manipulation. You offer your throat to make the predators sloppy. It's called insanity. Same thing. He tried to smile and failed, pain etching lines around his mouth. Leo? Safe. With Min. Good. His eyes were already unfocusing. That's good. Akira, stay with me. We need to get you medical attention. Can't. Police will have every hospital watched. Grandmother will have. Spies everywhere. He gripped my arm weakly. Min knows a doctor. Underground. No questions. Get me there and I'll be fine. He collapsed against me, unconscious. Min appeared at my side, helping me support Akira's weight. Cars around the corner. We move him now. Fast. We half carried, half dragged him through the alley. Leo followed, her small hand clutching the back of my dress. She was crying silently, too scared to make noise. The SUV's back door hung open. We shoved Akira inside, his blood immediately soaking into the seats. I climbed in after him, cradling his head in my lap. Min hit the gas before I'd even closed the door. "There's a clinic," Min said, eyes on the road. 20 minutes south. Dr. Yang owes the boss 3 life debts. He'll patch him up. No records. I looked down at Akira. His face was pale, lips slightly blue. The wound in his ribs was still bleeding despite the pressure I was applying. "He told me to run," I whispered. "He always does." Min's voice was grim. "Tells people to run so they don't see him become the monster, so they can pretend he's human. He is human. Then you see something the rest of the world doesn't." I touched Akira's face, tracing the sharp line of his jaw. "He killed 9 men to protect us. Bled himself out to give us time to escape. If that's not human, I don't know what is." Leo pressed against my side, staring at Akira with wide eyes. "Is he going to die?" "No." I said it with absolute conviction. "He's too stubborn." The clinic appeared a run-down building squeezed between a pawn shop and a closed restaurant. Min pulled into the narrow alley beside it, honking twice. A door opened, light spilling out. An elderly Asian man in blood-stained scrubs appeared. "Inside. Quickly." We carried Akira through the door into a makeshift surgical suite. The Dr. Yang took one look at the wound and started barking orders in rapid Cantonese. Nurses appeared from nowhere, moving with efficient precision. "You," Yang pointed at me. "Scrub in. I need extra hands." "I'm not a nurse. You want him to live? Then wash your hands and do exactly what I say." I hesitated for only a second. Then I handed Leo to Min and moved to the sink, scrubbing until my skin felt raw. Yang thrust gloves at me, then positioned me beside the surgical table where Akira lay unconscious, his chest barely rising. "Hold here. Pressure. Don't let go until I say." I pressed my hands to the wound, feeling Akira's blood pulse against my palms. Hot. Alive. His heart was still beating, still fighting. "Talk to him," Yang said, working with frightening speed. Unconscious patients respond to familiar voices. "What do I say? Whatever keeps him here." I leaned close to Akira's ear, my voice shaking. "Leo's safe. She's with Min. No one's going to hurt her." I swallowed hard. "You promised me you'd come back. You promised we'd burn them down together. So don't you dare die on me now. Akira Suzuki. Don't you times dare. Asterisk." His fingers twitched. Yang made a satisfied sound. "Good. Keep talking." So I did. I told him about Leo's favorite dinosaurs, about the lullaby my mother used to sing, about the first time I'd seen him in his penthouse and thought he looked like danger wrapped in expensive clothes. I told him everything while his blood soaked through my gloves, and Yang stitched him back together. And somewhere in the middle of it, Akira's hand found mine. His grip was weak, trembling, but there. "Not dying yet," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Still have work to do." Relief crashed through me so hard I almost collapsed. "You're awake." "Regrettably." He winced as Yang hit a nerve. "Leo? Safe. Right outside." "Good." His eyes met mine, and despite the pain, despite the blood loss, there was steel in his gaze. "Then we finish this." Grandmother thought. "She could take you. Take what's mine." His jaw clenched. "Going to show her. What happens when she tries?" Yang clipped the last suture. "Done. He'll need rest and antibiotics. No strenuous activity for at least 2 weeks." Akira started to laugh, then stopped with a groan. 2 weeks. Right. After we storm my grandmother's compound and burn it to the ground." "You're not storming anything," I said firmly. "You can barely move." His hand tightened on mine. "Have to. She knows we have Leo now. She'll escalate. Attack the clinic. Go after Min's family. She'll burn everything I've built until there's nothing left but ashes and bodies. Then we hide. Take Leo somewhere safe, and there is no safe. Not while she's alive." His expression was absolute. "This ends now, or it never ends at all." The door burst open. Min rushed in, his face grim. "Boss, we've got a problem." The Queen just sent a message. He held up his phone, showing a video. The screen displayed Tyrell, tied to a chair, face bruised and bloody. He was missing 2 fingers on his left hand, the stumps wrapped in filthy bandages. And standing behind him, smiling at the camera, was Mei Xing. "Grandson." Her voice purred through the speakers. "You broke our agreement, took what was mine. So now I'm taking what's yours piece by piece. Your pet's brother-in-law is just the beginning. By morning, I'll have burned every safe house you own, every asset you control, everyone you've ever cared about." Her smile widened. "Unless you bring me the girl, and your pet, and yourself. By dawn, otherwise." She grabbed Tyrell's hair, yanking his head back. "I'll make sure everyone you love dies screaming." The video ended. Silence filled the surgical suite. Akira sat up slowly, Young cursing and trying to push him back down. His face was carved from stone, eyes burning with something beyond rage. No. The word was soft. Final. No more running. No more hiding. We end this. Tonight. Boss, you can barely stand. Then I'll fight sitting down. He looked at me, and I saw the monster and the man warring in his expression. I told you before, you're mine. Leo's mine. And I don't negotiate with people who threaten what's mine. I erase them. His hand found his phone. He dialed without breaking eye contact with me. It's me. Activate Protocol Dragon. Every man we have, full gear, converging on the Queen's estate in 90 minutes. A pause. Yes, I'm aware of the casualties. Do it anyway. Another pause. Because we're going to war. He ended the call and stood, swaying slightly but upright. Akira, I'm going to give you a choice, Trisha. His voice was steel wrapped in silk. You can take Leo and run. Min will get you somewhere the Queen can't reach, new identities, new lives, enough money to disappear forever. Or, his hand extended toward me. You can stay. Help me burn her empire to the ground. But if you stay, there's no going back. You'll be a part of this world, the blood, the violence, all of it, and that stain doesn't wash off. I looked at his outstretched hand, at the blood still staining his shirt, at the monster he'd become to protect me. Then I looked at Leo, huddled against Min, terrified and traumatized. I thought of Tyrell, who'd sold us both, of Mei Xing, who'd tried to harvest my sister's organs, of every person who'd tried to break me, use me, destroy the only family I had left. I took Akira's hand. Let's finish this. His smile was sharp as broken glass. Welcome to the war. The safe house was a warehouse on the edge of the industrial district, all exposed brick and steel girders, converted into something between a bunker and a command center. Men in tactical gear moved through the space with military precision, checking weapons, reviewing floor plans, speaking in low, clipped voices. I sat on a metal folding chair near the makeshift medical bay, watching Leo sleep on a cot Min had set up in the corner. She'd finally crashed an hour ago, exhausted from fear and adrenaline. Someone had given her an oversized sweatshirt that swallowed her small frame. She looked so young, so fragile. They were going to cut her open and sell the pieces. The rage that thought sparked was cold now, calculating. I understood why Akira had built immunity to poison over 5 years, why he'd covered himself in scars, why he'd become something more weapon than man. Because sometimes the only way to protect what you loved was to become more dangerous than the things trying to destroy it. You should rest. Min appeared beside me, holding a bottle of water. Going to be a long night. Can't. I took the water but didn't drink. Every time I close my eyes, I see that video. Tyrell screaming, the Queen smiling, bosses handling it. I looked across the warehouse to where Akira stood, surrounded by 3 men, pointing at blueprints spread across a table. He'd refused more pain medication, insisted on staying lucid. Someone had bandaged his ribs properly, and he'd changed into black tactical pants and a dark shirt that hid most of the blood. But I could see the way he moved, careful, guarding his left side, still bleeding underneath, still planning to storm a fortified compound in less than an hour. He's going to get himself killed, I said quietly. Probably. Min's expression was grim, but he'll take half the Queen's organization with him. And that's the point. Show her that attacking him costs more than it's worth. Make her bleed so badly she thinks twice before trying again. And if he dies in the process, then he dies protecting what matters to him. Min's voice softened. Look, I've known the boss for 8 years. Watched him build this empire from nothing. Saw him survive 3 assassination attempts in a war with the Koreans that should have ended him. He's always been smart, strategic, but cold, like he was operating on pure calculation with no heart behind it. He nodded toward Akira. You changed that. Made him remember what it feels like to want something besides revenge. That makes him dangerous in a whole new way. Before I could respond, Akira's voice cut across the warehouse. Trisha, with me. I stood, legs stiff from sitting, crossed to the table where he waited, his dark eyes tracking my movement. The other men melted away, giving us space. How's Leo? He asked. Sleeping, finally. I studied his face, the tight lines around his mouth. You're in pain. I'm functional. That's what matters. He tapped the blueprints. This is the Queen's estate. 20 acres, main house here, guest houses scattered around the perimeter. She'll have at least 40 guards on rotation, plus domestic staff she can call on if needed. Security cameras, motion sensors, reinforced doors. It's designed to be a fortress. So how do we get in? His finger traced a line on the map. Tunnels. The property was built in the 1922. During Prohibition, they used underground passages to move illegal alcohol. Most have collapsed, but 3 are still viable. This one comes up in the basement, near the wine cellar. That's where she'll expect you. Which is why we're not using it. He pointed to a different spot. This tunnel exits in the carriage house, 50 yards from the main building. Newer construction, less fortified. We breach there, move through the gardens under cover, and hit the south wing where her personal quarters are located. I stared at the map, memorizing the layout. And Terrell? Akira's jaw tightened. Likely in the basement. She'll keep him close to the entrance. She expects us to use bait for the trap. We extract Leo first, then decide what to do about him. Decide? I looked up at him. You mean whether to save him or leave him? I mean whether you want him saved. His expression was carefully neutral. He's your family, Trisha. Technically, whatever happens to him is your call. I thought of the bank statements, the photos of him gambling while Leo got sicker, the $50,000 he'd accepted in exchange for our lives. He stopped being family when he sold us, I said quietly. But Leo might want to know what happened to her father, when she's older, when she can understand. So we bring him out, and then you do whatever you think is necessary. I met his eyes steadily. I trust your judgment on how to handle threats to my daughter. Something flickered in Akira's expression, approval mixed with something darker. You're learning. You're teaching. I glanced at the men moving through the warehouse, all of them armed, all of them ready to die on his order. How many of them won't come back? 7, maybe 8, if we're lucky. His voice was matter of fact. The Queen will have sharpshooters, probably explosives rigged at the entry points. Even with surprise on our side, this is going to be bloody. And you're okay with that? Sending them to die? They're not dying for me. They're dying for the principle. He turned to face me fully. Every man here volunteered. They know what we're walking into. And they're coming because if we let the Queen get away with this, with threatening children, with attacking families, then none of us are safe. Not our wives, our kids, our parents. This isn't just about revenge, Trisha. It's about drawing a line and showing her what happens when she crosses it. A man approached 30s, Chinese with a prosthetic left hand. Boss! Perimeter team reports movement at the estate. Looks like she's bringing in reinforcements. Counts up to 60, maybe 70. Akira's expression didn't change. Then we move up the timeline. Breach in 30 minutes instead of 60. She won't expect us to hit her while she's still staging. That gives us almost no prep time. We don't need prep. We need momentum. He looked at me. Can you handle a weapon? I used a scalpel on a guard earlier. Does that count? His smile was sharp. Close quarters combat. Good instincts. But you'll need something with more range. He pulled a compact pistol from his belt, checking the chamber before offering it to me grip first. Glock 43. 9mm, 6-round magazine. Point and squeeze. Safety's here. I took it, surprised by the weight. The metal was cool against my palm. Somehow both foreign and natural. If someone comes at you, Akira said quietly, don't hesitate. Don't warn them. Just fire. Center mass, 2 shots, then reassess. You're not trying to wound or scare them. You're eliminating a threat to Leo's safety. Understand? I nodded, throat tight. Good. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a folded piece of paper. This is for you. Read it after we're done. What is it? My will. In case I don't make it out. His expression was calm, like he was discussing the weather. Everything I own goes to you and Leo. The legitimate businesses, the accounts, the property. Min will help you navigate the transition. You'll be set for life. Akira, I'm not planning to die tonight. His hand came up, cupping my face. But I am planning to make sure you and Leo are protected, no matter what happens. That means contingencies, backup plans, safety nets you don't even know exist. I leaned into his touch. This man who'd manipulated my entire life to save his own, then risked everything to save mine. You told me you wanted to give me everything. A life where the monsters couldn't reach me. Yes. Then come back alive. Because a life without you in it isn't the everything I want. His thumb traced my cheekbone. Dangerous thing to say to a man like me. Good thing I'm learning to be dangerous too. He kissed me then, not desperate like before, but deliberate. A promise sealed in the press of lips, and the taste of mint and copper. When he pulled back, his eyes were burning. Stay with Min and Leo. If we're not back in 2 hours, he'll get you to the secondary location. Don't argue, don't wait. Just go, and if you are back, then we'll have one less monster in the world to worry about. He released me and turned to address the room. Listen up. We move in 20. Standard breach protocol Alpha team takes point through the carriage house. Bravo secures the perimeter. Charlie extracts high-value targets from the basement. Rules of engagement are simple. Anyone with a weapon is hostile. Anyone without a weapon who tries to stop you becomes hostile. The queen is mine, no one touches her except me. Questions? Silence. Good. Check your gear and say your prayers. We're going hunting. The men dispersed, moving with practiced efficiency. Min appeared at my side, guiding me back toward Leo's cot. You should wake her, he said quietly. Let her see you before we leave, just in case. My hands clenched. Don't say that. I'm being realistic. Boss is good, but he's not invincible. And the queen, he shook his head. She's been running this organization for 40 years. She's survived longer than anyone has a right to. That makes her either incredibly lucky or incredibly smart. Either way, tonight's going to cost us. I knelt beside Leo's cot, brushing hair from her sleeping face. She stirred, eyes fluttering open. Trish? Hey, baby. I forced a smile. How you feeling? Tired? Scared? Her small hand found mine. Are we safe now? I wanted to lie. Wanted to tell her everything was fine. That the nightmare was over. But I'd spent too many years lying to protect her from harsh truths, and look where it had gotten us. Not yet, I said honestly. But we will be. Soon. Akira and his people are making sure of it. The man with the dragon? She glanced past me to where Akira stood, surrounded by armed men. Is he good or bad? Both. I squeezed her hand. He's done bad things for good reasons, and right now he's fighting to keep you safe. That makes him good where it counts. Leo studied him with a child's unnerving clarity. He loves you. What makes you say that? The way he looks at you, like you're the only real thing in the room. She yawned, exhausted. Daddy used to look at Mommy like that, before she died, before he started being sad all the time. Tyrell. I'd almost forgotten he was Leo's father, not just the man who'd betrayed us. That once, maybe, he'd been someone capable of love, before he started being sad all the time. Before gambling became the only thing that made him feel alive. Before debt turned him desperate enough to sell his daughter's health for breathing room. I didn't forgive him. Couldn't. But maybe I understood a little better. Get some more rest, I told Leo. When you wake up, this will all be over. Promise? Promise. She drifted off again, her hand going slack in mine. I stood, turning to find Akira watching me from across the warehouse. The look on his face was complicated, possessive, and protective, and something softer I couldn't name. Then he turned away, giving orders to his men, and the moment broke. Min touched my shoulder. There's a monitoring station in the back office. Multiple camera feeds from the estate. If you want to watch... No. I couldn't sit in safety while Akira walked into gunfire. I'm going with them, Boss said. I don't care what he said. I checked the Glock, making sure the safety was off like he'd shown me. Leo's safe here with you. And if something goes wrong, if Akira needs backup or an exit strategy, I want to be there. You'll get yourself killed. Then I'll die protecting the people I love. Just like he's doing. I met Min's eyes. You said I changed him. Made him remember what it's worth fighting for. Well, he did the same for me, so I'm going. You can try to stop me, or you can tell me which team I'm joining." Min stared at me for a long moment. Then he sighed, pulling a tactical vest from a nearby crate. "You're insane. Boss is going to kill me if you get hurt. He'll have to survive the night first." Fair point. He helped me into the vest, cinching the straps tight. "Stay behind Alpha Team. Don't engage unless absolutely necessary. And if you see the Queen, Akira said she's his." "She is. But if she gets her hands on you, don't hesitate. She's old, but she's vicious, and she's got nothing left to lose." I nodded, adrenaline starting to course through me. Across the warehouse, Akira was pulling on his own vest, moving with controlled precision despite his injury. He hadn't noticed me yet, too focused on final preparations. When he did finally look up and see me geared up with Alpha Team, his expression went thunderous. He crossed the space between us in 6 strides. "What the hell do you think you're doing? Coming with you?" "Absolutely not. You're staying here with Leo where it's safe." I stepped closer, not backing down. "There is no safe. You said that yourself. The Queen will keep coming until one of you is dead. So either we end this tonight, or we spend the rest of our lives running. And I'm done running, Akira. I'm done being the victim, the helpless woman who needs protecting. You're not." "I am, and you know it." I gripped his vest, pulling him down to my level. "You've been making choices for me since the day you bought my contract, manipulating my circumstances, controlling my options, and maybe I needed that at first. Maybe I was too broken to see past survival, but not anymore." His jaw clenched. "Trisha, you want to give me everything? Then give me times this. Asterisk, let me stand beside you instead of behind you. Let me be the partner you deserve instead of the weakness you have to protect." For a moment, he just stared at me, something warring in his expression. "Then, you could die, so could you. And if that happens, I want to be there. Not sitting in a warehouse wondering if you're bleeding out while I waited in safety." His hands came up to frame my face, and I saw the exact moment he surrendered. "You're going to be the death of me. Not if we're smart. Not if we work together." He pressed his forehead to mine, breathing hard. "Stay close. Don't take unnecessary risks. And if I tell you to run, you times run. Asterisk. No arguments, no hesitation. Agreed?" "Agreed." "God help me." He released me, turning to address the team. Change of plans. Trisha's with Alpha Team, center position, protected formation. Anyone who lets her get hit answers to me personally. Clear? The men nodded, rearranging themselves to accommodate me. One handed me a radio, showing me the frequency. 5 minutes, Akira called out. "Load up." We moved as a unit toward the vehicles, 3 black SUVs with reinforced panels and tinted windows. I climbed into the second one, sandwiched between 2 operatives who looked like they could break me in half without trying. Akira took the front passenger seat, checking his weapon one final time. The engine rumbled to life, and we drove toward war. The tunnel smelled like earth and decay, centuries of rot compressed into air so thick it coated my lungs. We moved in single file, headlamps cutting narrow beams through absolute darkness. Water dripped somewhere ahead. The walls were close enough to brush my shoulders, brick crumbling under my fingertips. Akira led, moving with surprising speed despite the wound in his ribs. I followed 3 people back, surrounded by men whose names I didn't know but whose presence felt solid, dependable. Trust the team. Trust the plan. Trust Akira. The tunnel stretched endlessly, sloping upward. My thighs burned from the climb. Someone ahead raised a fist, the signal to stop. We froze, and the silence was suffocating. Akira's voice crackled through the radio, barely a whisper. "Carriage house breach point 20 meters ahead. Thermal reading shows 2 guards inside, 3 patrolling the gardens." We go on my mark fast and silent. I checked my Glock for the 3rd time. 6 rounds. Safety off. Point and squeeze. Don't hesitate. Don't warn them. Just fire. Mark. We moved. The tunnel opened into a stone cellar converted into storage for landscaping equipment. The ceiling was low, forcing us to hunch. Akira was already at the door, placing a small device against the lock. It beeped once. The door clicked open. He went through first, weapon raised. 2 muted shots, compressed air and silencer combining into sounds like heavy breathing. Thuds as bodies hit the floor. Clear. Move. We poured into the carriage house. It was exactly as the blueprints showed, 3 vintage cars under canvas covers, tools organized along the walls, a bay door leading to the gardens. Through the windows, I could see the main house, lit up like a cathedral. Every window glowing, shadows moving inside. One of our men disabled the security camera in the corner. Another checked the fallen guards, both dead, neat holes in their foreheads. "Bravo, team. Status," Akira said into his radio. "In position. South perimeter. 15 hostiles visible. Standard patrol patterns. Charlie team? Approaching basement entrance. Significant fortification, looks like she's expecting us here." "She is. That's the point." Akira turned to us. "We have maybe 3 minutes before they realize the cameras are down. We hit the south wing, extract the queen, and signal Charlie to grab the basement targets." Questions. Silence. "Then let's finish this." We moved into the gardens, using hedges and sculptures as cover. The grounds were immaculate manicured lawns, stone pathways, water features that burbled peacefully. Beautiful. Serene. Except for the armed men walking patrol routes with assault rifles. Akira dropped to one knee behind a marble fountain, signaling for us to spread out. I crouched beside him, watching 3 guards pass within 10 feet of our position. They were talking in Mandarin, relaxed. Unsuspecting, one of them laughed at something his companion said. Then Alpha Team opened fire. The suppressed shots were still loud in the quiet night times, foot 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 times, and all 3 guards dropped before they could scream. We were moving again before the bodies stopped twitching, racing across open ground toward the house. The south wing entrance was a set of French doors, locked but not reinforced. 2 guards flanked it, both turning at our approach. One raised his radio. Akira shot him through the throat. The second guard managed to fire a deafening crack that shattered the night's silence. All hell broke loose. Lights blazed to life across the property. Alarms shrieked. Shouts erupted from every direction. And from inside the house, I heard the unmistakable sound of boots on marble, dozens of them, converging on our position. "Breach! Now!" Akira kicked the French doors. They splintered inward. We poured through into a lavish sitting room, silk furniture, priceless artwork, everything drenched in old money and older blood. 4 guards rushed in from the far door. Alpha Team met them with overwhelming force. I pressed against the wall, making myself small, watching men fight and die in a space designed for tea parties and polite conversation. One guard broke through the line, heading straight for me. His eyes locked on mine, predatory and certain. I raised the Glock, pointed center mass. "Don't hesitate." I fired twice. The recoil jolted through my arms. The guard stumbled, red blooming across his chest. He looked surprised, confused, like he couldn't believe a woman in a tactical vest had just killed him. He collapsed 3 feet from me. I stared at his body, at the blood pooling beneath him, at what I'd just done. "Trisha," Akira's hand on my shoulder, pulling me back to reality. "Stay with me. We keep moving." I nodded, numb. Let him guide me through the sitting room into a hallway lined with portraits. Dead ancestors staring down at us with painted eyes. We passed a formal dining room, a library, a parlor, each space more opulent than the last. "South wing, 2nd floor," Akira said into his radio. "Encountering heavy resistance. Need suppression fire on the main staircase." "Copy." Bravo Team engaging. Gunfire erupted somewhere outside. Windows shattered. Someone screamed. We reached the grand staircase, white marble, gold railings, a chandelier the size of a car hanging overhead. Guards lined the upper landing, using the banister as cover. Akira assessed the situation in seconds. Grenade. Flashbang. One of our men pulled a canister from his vest, yanked the pin, and tossed it up the stairs. We turned away, covering our ears. The blast was apocalyptic, even through my palms, a pressure wave that rattled my teeth and left my ears ringing. When I looked back, 3 guards were down, the others staggering blindly. "Go!" We stormed the stairs. More shots, more bodies. The marble was slick with blood, making every step treacherous. I slipped, caught myself on the railing, kept climbing. 2nd floor. A hallway lined with closed doors. Akira moved with purpose toward the largest set double doors carved with phoenix motifs, gold handles gleaming. "That's her room," he said. "Charlie Team. Status? Basement secured. 2 HVTs extracted, 1 male. Critical condition. 1 female. Age 10. Unharmed." Relief crashed through me. "Leo is safe," Akira confirmed. "Min has her. Now we finish this." He kicked the doors open. The room beyond was massive, easily 1,000 square feet, dominated by a 4-poster bed draped in red silk. Antiques filled every corner, paintings worth millions, and standing by the window, backlit by city lights, was Mei Xing. She looked smaller than I remembered, frailer, but when she turned to face us, her eyes were sharp as obsidian. Grandson, how predictable. She held a gun, small, elegant, probably worth more than most cars. I told you to come alone. You brought an army instead. You told me to bring Trisha and Leo. I chose not to negotiate with terrorists. Terrorists. She laughed, the sound brittle. I'm your grandmother, Yajun. Your blood. Everything I've done has been to preserve this family's legacy. You murdered Aya. I eliminated a distraction. No remorse. No hesitation. She was making you soft, weak. You were meant for greatness, to lead this organization into the next century. Instead, you threw it away for a woman who played violin and had no understanding of what we are. Akira's weapon never wavered. What you are, not what I am. You think you're different. You think building legitimate businesses and pretending at morality makes you clean? Mei Xing's smile was cruel. Look at you, bleeding from a gunshot wound, surrounded by armed killers, about to execute your own grandmother. You're exactly what I made you. No. His voice was absolute. I'm what you tried to make me. There's a difference. She raised her gun, pointing it not at Akira, but at me. And this one? This cleaner you've decided is worth burning the world for. She killed one of my men downstairs. Shot him twice. Sent her mass, just like you taught her. How long before she's as stained as you are? How long before she becomes another Aya, someone I have to remove for your own good? You won't touch her. Akira stepped between us, blocking her line of fire. You want to shoot someone? Shoot me. But you leave Trisha out of this. Always so dramatic. Mei Xing lowered the gun slightly. Here's my final offer, Yajun. Walk away now. Take your pet and her daughter and disappear. I'll absorb your territories, liquidate your assets, and pretend this family's greatest failure died in some foreign country far from here. Or, the gun raised again, stay, and I make sure everyone you've ever cared about dies screaming, starting with her. The weapon swung toward me. Akira moved faster than should have been possible with a hole in his ribs. He lunged sideways, his body blocking mine as Mei Xing fired. The shot was deafening. Akira grunted pain and impact. We went down together, crashing into a Louis XIV chair that splintered under our combined weight. No! The scream tore from my throat. I scrambled out from under him, hands frantically searching for new wounds. Akira, where did she? Vest caught it. His face was gray, breath coming in sharp gasps. But cracked. Rib, I think. Can't breathe right. Mei Xing was advancing, gun trained on us. I gave you a chance. Multiple chances. But you insist on choosing these women over your family. Over your destiny. They are my family. Akira tried to stand, fell back. You're just DNA and bad decisions. Then you can die with them. She squeezed the trigger. The click was hollow, empty. Mei Xing's expression flickered the first crack in her composure. She looked at the gun like it had betrayed her. Looking for these? One of our men held up a magazine of bullets. Removed them while you were monologuing. Boss's orders. Akira had planned this. Asterisk. Of course times he'd planned this. Mei Xing dropped the useless weapon, her posture shifting. No longer the untouchable queen, just an old woman who'd run out of moves. You won't kill me, she said. But there was uncertainty now. I'm your grandmother, your father's mother. Family still means something. It does. Akira finally managed to stand, one hand pressed to his ribs. That's why I'm not going to kill you. Relief flashed across her face. I'm going to arrest you. Turn you over to the federal task force that's been investigating the Rising Phoenix for 3 years. Let you spend whatever time you have left in a concrete cell, surrounded by women you once exploited, guarded by a system you once owned. His smile was vicious. You wanted me to lead? To be strong? Here's your lesson. Grandmother, real power isn't about who you can kill. It's about who you choose to let live. Mei Xing's face contorted with rage. You spineless. Charlie team, bring them up, Akira said into his radio. Footsteps on the stairs. 2 of our men appeared, dragging Tyrell between them. He looked worse than in the video, face swollen, one eye sealed shut, his hand wrapped in blood-soaked bandages where his fingers used to be. When he saw me, he started crying. Trish, I'm sorry. I didn't know what they'd do. I thought I could pay them back. Shut up. My voice was ice. I looked at Akira. You said this was my choice. It is. I stared at Tyrell. This man who'd held Leo as a newborn. Who'd promised to protect us after my sister died. Who'd sold us both when his addiction got too expensive. Min told me you need to make examples, I said quietly. Show people what happens when they betray your organization. That's how you maintain order in your world. Akira waited, watching me. But this isn't your world anymore. You said you wanted to be legitimate. Clean. I turned back to Tyrell. So we do this the legitimate way. We turn him over to the authorities. Let them prosecute him for child endangerment, conspiracy, fraud, whatever charges apply. Let him face a courtroom instead of a bullet. He'll get 20 years, minimum, Akira said. Good. That means Leo can visit him when she's older. If she wants to, give her the choice to forgive him or not. But we don't take that choice away by killing him. Akira studied me for a long moment, then nodded. As you wish. Charlie, hand him to the feds with the Queen. They'll both face justice. No, Meisheng lunged forward. You can't. I have connections, lawyers. You times had times connections. Akira's voice was final. I spent the last 6 months building a case with federal prosecutors. Every transaction, every murder, every piece of evidence needed to dismantle your organization. They've been waiting for me to deliver you. Consider yourself delivered. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Red and blue lights swept through the windows. That's our cue, Akira said. Everybody out. Leave the Queen and her pet for the authorities. We were never here. Alpha Team moved with practiced efficiency, collecting spent casings, wiping surfaces, erasing evidence of our presence. I helped where I could, still numb from killing a man, from watching Akira take a bullet meant for me, from seeing my brother-in-law broken and bleeding. Is this who I am now? Akira's hand found mine. Second thoughts? 1,000 of them. I looked at him, but none strong enough to make me leave. His expression softened. Come on, Leo's waiting, and I'm pretty sure Min's about to have a heart attack worrying about us. We fled through the south wing, retracing our path. The gardens were littered with bodies, ours and theirs. The carriage house tunnel seemed narrower on the way back, every shadow hiding threats that weren't there. When we finally emerged into the warehouse, I could breathe again. Leo was awake, perched on the cot and clutching a stuffed elephant someone had given her. When she saw me, she launched herself into my arms. You came back. I promised, didn't I? I held her tight, inhaling the scent of her hair. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? I'm okay. The doctor here checked me. He said I'm gonna be fine. She pulled back, her eyes going to Akira. Did you stop the bad people? We stopped them. His voice gentled in a way I'd never heard before. You're safe now, Leo. Both of you. I promise. She studied him with that unnerving child's clarity. Then she reached out and took his hand. Thank you for protecting my mom. Akira looked startled, like he'd never been thanked by a child before and didn't know the protocol. You're welcome. Are you gonna stay with us? Leo asked. Or are you gonna go away like Daddy did? The question hung in the air, heavy with implication. I wanted to tell her not to put that on him, that Akira had his own life, his own empire to rebuild, that we couldn't expect him to. I'm staying, he said quietly. If your mom wants me to. Leo looked at me, expectant, and I realized this was it. The choice I'd been circling around since the moment he'd drunk that poison and smiled. Stay in his dangerous world, or take Leo and run. Build something new in the ashes of everything we'd burned, or walk away clean. There is no clean, not anymore. I'd killed a man tonight, watched people die, become part of the violence I'd spent 8 months trying to escape. But I'd also stood beside someone who valued my choices, who'd risked everything to protect my daughter, who looked at me like I was the only real thing in a world of illusions. We want you to stay, I said. Akira's expression transformed relief and joy, and something fierce that made my chest tight. Leo yawned, exhausted again. Good, because you have a really cool dragon tattoo and I want to see it better when I'm not so sleepy. Despite everything, the bodies, the blood, the federal charges being filed across the city, I laughed. Akira did too, the sound rusty but genuine. Get some rest, little Lotus, he said, using Tyrell's old nickname. Tomorrow we'll figure out what comes next. She was asleep before her head hit the pillow. Min approached, carrying a tablet. Boss, final count, 11 casualties on our side, 47. On our side, 47 on theirs. Federal task force has the Queen and her lieutenant in custody. Media's already calling it the biggest organized crime bust in 20 years. And our exposure? Minimal. We left nothing connecting us to the scene. As far as the feds are concerned, they got an anonymous tip about the Queen's location. They raided, found her attempting to flee, and arrested her with a mountain of evidence we conveniently left in her safe. Perfect. Akira swayed slightly. The adrenaline was crashing, leaving only pain and exhaustion. You need medical attention, I said. I need sleep. But he let me guide him to a chair, let me check his bandages. The bullet had hit the trauma plate in his vest, but the impact had definitely cracked something. He was moving like every breath hurt. Dr. Yang's here, Min said. I'll have him take another look. While we waited, I sat beside Akira, our hands linked. The warehouse was slowly emptying, men peeling off to safe houses, to families, to lives they'd risked for this operation. Each one stopped to nod at Akira, respect mixed with relief that their boss had survived. I lied to you, Akira said quietly. My stomach dropped. About what? Earlier, when I said I was giving you a choice about whether I stayed. His thumb traced circles on my palm. Truth is, I don't think I could leave if you asked me to. You and Leo, you've become necessary. Like air, like heartbeats. The logical part of my brain says I should walk away, let you build a normal life without my complications. But the rest of me? He looked at me, and his eyes were raw. The rest of me is already planning how to make this permanent. How to keep you both safe and close in times in ways that should probably worry you. Should it? Worry me? Probably. I'm still the man who watched you through cameras and manipulated your circumstances. Who built an entire conspiracy around securing you as a medical resource. Those instincts don't just disappear because I've decided I care about you. No, I agreed. But they can be redirected, controlled, used for protection instead of manipulation. And you trust me to do that? I thought about everything that had led us here. The lies and the truths and the violence we'd waded through together. I trust that you'll try, I said. And I trust that I'm strong enough now to tell you when you're crossing lines. We'll figure it out as we go. His smile was tired but genuine. Partners then? Partners. Dr. Yang appeared, shooing me away so he could examine Akira's ribs. I moved to sit beside Leo's cot, watching her sleep, trying to process everything that had happened. 24 hours ago, I'd been a cleaner with a dying sister and no way out. Now I was what? The partner of a reformed Yakuza boss? A killer myself? Someone who'd chosen violence to protect what mattered? Yes, all of that. And somehow, I was okay with it. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. * federal charges filed against Mei Xing Wei and Tyrell Parker. Prosecution estimates 15 to 25 years for Wei, 18 to 22 for Parker. You're listed as a witness, but we can keep your identity sealed. Well done. Agent Morrison *. I showed Akira the message. He read it, then deleted it with practiced efficiency. Morrison's the Fed I've been working with, he explained. Good man. Hates organized crime but respects people who flip to take down bigger fish. He'll make sure you and Leo are protected during the trial. And after, we disappear. New city, new identities if you want. Or, he hesitated. We stay. Build something legitimate and clean from the ashes of what I've burned. Your choice. I looked around the warehouse at the men loyal enough to die for him, at the resources he commanded, at the empire he'd built from nothing. What do you want? I asked. I want to wake up next to you without checking for assassins first. I want to teach Leo how to play chess and take her to the aquarium and be boring and domestic and times normal. *. His expression was almost vulnerable. I want to be the man you see when you look at me, not the monster I became to survive. Then let's build that, I said. Together. Dr. Yang finished his examination. 3 cracked ribs, severe bruising, and you're lucky the vest caught that shot or you'd be dead. No strenuous activity for 6 weeks minimum. Define strenuous. Anything that makes you wince, which, based on how you're breathing, includes existing. Yang packed up his supplies. I'm serious, Akira. Your body can only take so much abuse. One more hit like tonight and your luck runs out. Noted. After Yang left, the warehouse fell quiet. Just me, Akira, Leo, and Min standing guard by the door. What happens tomorrow? I asked. Tomorrow, we figure out living. Akira shifted carefully, making space for me beside him. No more running, No more hiding. Just existing. Together. I leaned against his good side, careful of his injuries. Sounds dangerous. Everything worth having is. We sat like that until dawn, watching Leo sleep, listening to the city wake up outside, and for the first time in 8 months, I wasn't afraid of what came next. 3 months later, the penthouse looked different in daylight. Softer somehow, like all the sharp edges had been sanded down. The steel gray silk was still there, but now it was punctuated with color. Leo's drawings taped to the refrigerator, a basket of toys in the corner, photographs in simple frames scattered across surfaces that used to hold only expensive art, pictures of us, smiling, real. I stood in the doorway of what used to be Akira's closet, watching the transformation. The suits were gone, replaced by a white crib with a mobile of paper cranes spinning slowly overhead. Soft rugs covered the hardwood. A rocking chair sat by the window, cushioned and worn from use. Leo's room, her sanctuary. She was in it now, sprawled on the floor with colored pencils, drawing something elaborate involving dinosaurs and castles. Her dark hair was pulled into 2 puffs, the style I'd learned to do from YouTube tutorials. She was humming off-key, completely absorbed, healthy, solid, alive. The kidney transplant had happened 6 weeks ago. Akira's private medical team had performed the surgery in a facility so advanced it made most hospitals look medieval. They'd flushed the toxins from her system, repaired the damage, given her a future. She'd bounced back faster than any of us expected. Kids were resilient like that. She's been drawing for 2 hours. Akira appeared beside me, moving quietly despite his size. He'd healed well, the cracked ribs mended, the gunshot wound now just another scar to add to his collection. He still moved carefully sometimes, but the pain had faded to background noise. He was wearing jeans, and a soft gray sweater that made him look almost approachable. Almost. What's she making? I asked. A fortress, apparently, with a moat full of sharks and a bridge made of rainbows. The dinosaurs live in the towers and protect the princess. He smiled, and it was the real one, not the sharp, predatory expression he used in business meetings, but something genuine. She's very specific about the architectural details. She gets that from you. Does she? His arm came around my waist, pulling me back against his chest. I thought she got her stubbornness from you. That too. We stood there watching her, this child we'd fought a war to protect. She'd been through hell, kidnapped, threatened, traumatized. But she was healing. Slowly, with therapy and patience and the kind of safety she'd never had before. The nightmares were getting less frequent. The flinching when strangers got too close was fading. She laughed more now, played, asked questions about everything. Last week, she'd asked Akira if the dragon on his chest had a name. He'd said no. She'd decided to call it Ember. And now she talked to the tattoo like it was a pet. Asked it questions. Told it about her day. Akira endured this with surprising grace, answering in a gravelly voice he pretended was the dragon's. I'd fallen a little more in love with him watching that. Min called, Akira said quietly. The trial date's been set. 6 months from now. They want you to testify about Tyrell's involvement in Leo's poisoning. My stomach clenched. Will I have to see him? Only if you want to. Morrison can arrange for you to testify via video link. You'd never have to be in the same room. I thought about it. About the man who'd sold us. Who'd sat in that casino counting cards while Leo got sicker. Who'd looked at $50,000 and seen salvation instead of betrayal. I'll do it in person, I said finally. Leo deserves to know I faced him. That I didn't hide. You don't have to prove anything. I'm not proving anything. I'm closing a door. I turned in his arms, looking up at him. Tyrell was family once. Maybe he can be again someday, if he does the work. But that's his journey, not mine. Mine is here, with you and Leo, building something that doesn't require running or hiding or poisoning anyone. His expression softened. How did I get this lucky? You didn't. You manipulated circumstances, built immunity to poison, and orchestrated an 8-month conspiracy to secure a bone marrow donor. I smiled, but somewhere in there, you decided to fall in love instead of just surviving. That part was luck. Is that what this is? His hands framed my face. Love? What else would you call it? Obsession. Possession. A pathological need to keep you close and safe at all costs. His thumb traced my lower lip. Love sounds too simple for what I feel when I look at you. Then call it whatever you want. Just don't stop feeling it. He kissed me slow and thorough, tasting like the coffee we'd shared an hour ago. When we broke apart, Leo was watching us with an expression of theatrical disgust. "You guys are so gross." "We're romantic," I corrected. "Same thing." She went back to her drawing. "Can Ember come to dinner with us tonight?" "He likes noodles." Akira cleared his throat. "The dragon can come, but he has to use utensils, obviously." I pressed my face against Akira's chest to muffle my laughter. His hand stroked my hair, gentle and possessive. This was my life now. Domesticity with a man covered in scars, conversations with imaginary dragons, breakfast at the table instead of standing over a sink, safety that didn't feel like a lie. My phone buzzed. A message from Agent Morrison. Mei Xing pleaded guilty to 47 counts including murder, conspiracy, human trafficking, and racketeering. Life without parole. She'll die in prison. Thought you'd want to know. Asterisk. I showed Akira. He read it, his expression carefully neutral. But I saw something flicker in his eyes, not grief exactly, but acknowledgement. The death of one chapter, the beginning of another. "How do you feel?" I asked. "Like I should feel worse than I do." He handed back my phone. "She was my grandmother, my blood. But all I feel is relief. That she can't hurt anyone anymore. That the war is over. The war was over 3 months ago. No, the fighting was over. The war ended today." With that plea, he pulled me closer, his grip tightening. "Now we can actually live." From the living room, Leo called out, "Can we get a real dragon? Like a tiny one? I promise I'll take care of it." "Dragons aren't real, baby," I called back. "Ember's real." Akira's chest rumbled with suppressed laughter. "She's got a point. Don't encourage her." Too late. We moved into the living room together. Akira had been slowly transforming the space over the past 3 months, keeping the expensive furniture, but adding warmth. Throw pillows in jewel tones. Soft lighting. Books on the shelves that weren't about business or strategy, but about cooking and gardening and raising children. He'd been reading parenting books. Secretly, like he didn't want me to know he was trying. I knew. Of course I knew. The bone marrow transplant had happened 4 weeks ago. Quick procedure. Minimal recovery time. They'd extracted what Akira needed, synthesized the treatment, and saved his life. The genetic disorder that should have killed him by 40 was now manageable, under control. He'd cried when the doctors confirmed it worked. Just one tear, tracking down his scarred face. I'd held him while he broke and rebuilt himself in the same breath. "I need to tell you something," I said, settling on the couch while Leo drew and Akira made tea in the kitchen. "That sounds ominous." He appeared with 2 cups, setting them on the coffee table. "Should I be worried?" "No. Maybe. I don't know." I took a breath. "I've been thinking about what comes next. After the trial, after everything settles." He waited, patient. "I want to go back to school." The words came out in a rush. "Study social work, maybe. Or counseling. Work with families like mine, people stuck in bad situations who need help navigating the system. I know it sounds naive, but it sounds perfect." He caught my hand. "You've been through hell and came out wanting to help others avoid the same path. That's not naive. That's extraordinary. It'll take years. And money. And I'll need childcare for Leo while I'm in classes. We have money. More than we could spend in 3 lifetimes. And Leo will be in school herself soon." His grip tightened. "If this is what you want, we'll make it happen. Whatever resources you need, whatever support, it's yours." I searched his face for any sign he was just saying what I wanted to hear. Found only sincerity. "What about you?" I asked. "What do you want? Now that you're not dying, not fighting your grandmother, not building immunity to poison just in case." He was quiet for a long moment, staring into his tea. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft. "I want to be boring. Wake up next to you every morning. Make Leo breakfast. Go to parent-teacher conferences and argue about bedtimes. I want to teach her how to swim and take her to the science museum. I want..." He looked at me, and his eyes were vulnerable. "I want to be her father. Not biologically. Not legally, yet. But in every way that matters. If you'll let me." The request hit me like a physical thing, because this was Akira Suzuki, former Yakuza boss, calculated manipulator, man who'd killed 9 people to protect us, asking permission to be a times dad. "Leo," I called. "Can you come here for a second?" She bounded over, clutching her latest drawing, a purple T-Rex wearing a crown. "What?" "Akira has a question for you." I looked at him, giving him the space to ask himself. He knelt, bringing himself to her eye level. The dragon on his chest was partially visible through his sweater, ember peeking out. "Leo," he said carefully, "I know I'm not your biological father, and I know you might want to wait and see if your dad, if Terrell can be that person again someday. But I want you to know that I love your mom, and I love you, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to be your dad. Not to replace anyone, but to be there, for school plays and scraped knees and teaching you about the world. Would that be all right?" Leo studied him with that unnerving intensity she'd developed. Then, "Would you be my dad even if I'm bad sometimes? Like if I don't clean my room or I talk back? Even then, and you wouldn't leave? Like Daddy did?" "Never. I made your mom a promise that I'd protect you both, and I keep my promises, even if you get tired of us." His expression cracked. "I could never get tired of you. Either of you. You're the best things that have ever happened to me." Leo was silent for another beat. Then she threw her arms around his neck, nearly knocking him over. "Okay, you can be my dad, but you have to let Ember help." Akira's arms came around her, careful and tight. He pressed his face against her hair, and I saw his shoulders shake. "Deal," he managed. I watched them, this dangerous man and this resilient child, holding each other in the middle of a penthouse that had once been a fortress and was now a home, and I felt the last piece of fear inside me dissolve. We'd made it. Through poison and bullets and federal investigations, through betrayal and blood and impossible choices, we'd made it to the other side. That night, after Leo was asleep, Akira and I stood on the balcony watching the city lights. His arms were around me, his chin resting on my head. The air was cool but not cold, carrying the scent of rain that hadn't fallen yet. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly. "Another confession? More like a warning." He turned me to face him. "I'm not fully reformed. There are parts of my business that are still gray, not illegal, but not exactly clean. And there are people in my world who will always see me as what I was. A threat, a monster, someone to be eliminated. I know, and you're okay with that? I'm okay with you trying." I touched his chest, feeling his heartbeat under my palm. "I'm okay with the scars and the history, and the fact that you'll probably always be a little bit dangerous. Because you're also kind to my daughter and patient with her questions, and you cry when you think no one's looking. I don't cry. You cried when the doctor said the transplant worked. You cried when Leo called you dad for the first time just now. You cry, Akira Suzuki. You just do it very quietly." His hands came up to frame my face. "You see too much." "I see exactly enough." I kissed him. "And I'm not going anywhere, even when I'm obsessive and controlling and manipulative. Even then. As long as you keep directing those impulses toward protecting us instead of controlling us. Deal." He kissed me back, deeper. "Thank you." "For what?" "For choosing me, for staying when you could have run, for trusting that the monster could learn to be a man." I pulled back enough to look him in the eye. "You've got it backwards. You were always a man. You just spent so long being what everyone expected that you forgot. I didn't change you, Akira. I just reminded you who you were underneath all the armor." He studied me for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. My heart stuttered. "This isn't a proposal," he said quickly. "Not yet. That requires more planning and significantly better timing. This is..." He opened the box. Inside was a pendant, a small lotus flower carved from jade, suspended on a delicate gold chain. A promise that I will keep choosing you, keep protecting you, keep trying to be the man you see when you look at me. He removed the necklace, clasping it around my throat. The jade was cool against my skin, settling just above my heart. "It's beautiful. It's a symbol. The lotus grows in mud and filth but blooms clean and perfect. That's you, Trisha. That's us." His fingers traced the pendant. "We came from darkness, but we're building something beautiful anyway." I touched the lotus, feeling its smooth surface. "When you do propose hypothetically, what will that look like?" His smile was slow and dangerous. "Hypothetically, I'd wait until Leo's comfortable calling me dad without hesitation. Until the trials are over and we can breathe without waiting for the next crisis. Until I've proven I can do boring and domestic without sabotaging it. Then..." His arms tightened. "Then I'd ask you properly. With a ring and a speech and all the traditional elements you deserve. I don't need traditional, I know. But I want to give it to you anyway." We stood there, wrapped in each other, the city breathing around us. Tomorrow would bring challenges, therapy sessions for Leo, depositions for the trial, Akira's slow process of legitimizing his business holdings. But tonight we had this moment of peace, this family we'd forged from blood and choice and stubborn love. I should check on Leo, I said eventually. She's fine. I installed motion sensors that alert my phone if she gets out of bed. Very high-tech, possibly overprotective. Definitely overprotective. I'm working on it. We went inside together. The penthouse had transformed so much in 3 months it barely resembled the cold, precise space I'd first seen. It was lived in now. Warm. Ours. I found Leo exactly where we'd left her, curled in her crib that was honestly too small, but she refused to give up. The paper cranes above her head moved gently in the artificial breeze from the air conditioning. Akira appeared beside me, his hand finding mine. She's going to need a real bed soon, I whispered. I know. I've been researching options. There's a furniture maker in Portland who does custom work, hand-carved, sustainable wood, built to last generations. You're already planning her bedroom furniture? I'm planning everything. He looked at me, and his expression was completely serious. College funds, trust accounts, security protocols for when she starts dating. I have spreadsheets, Trisha. Color-coded spreadsheets. Despite everything, I laughed quiet enough not to wake Leo, but genuine. You're insane. I'm thorough. There's a difference. We watched her sleep for another moment. Then Akira tugged me toward our bedroom, no longer his bedroom, but ours. The space where we existed as partners, as lovers, as two damaged people learning to heal together. I changed into one of his shirts, soft from washing. He stripped to his boxers, and I counted his scars in the lamplight. There were 37 of them. I'd memorized each one over the past 3 months, the stories behind them, the pain they represented, the survival they promised. We climbed into bed together, fitting ourselves around each other with practiced ease. His arm around my waist, my head on his chest, the steady thump of his heart under my ear. Tell me a secret, I said quietly. What kind of secret? Any kind. Something true. He was silent for so long I thought he'd fallen asleep. Then, I was terrified the night you tried to poison me. Not of dying, I'd made peace with that possibility years ago, but of losing my chance with you before I'd even taken it, of spending whatever time I had left wondering what could have been if I'd just talked to you instead of watching through cameras. His hand moved in slow circles on my back. When you walked into my closet crying, holding that vial, I realized I'd already failed. I'd manipulated you into a corner where you felt murder was your only option. And that made me exactly like my grandmother, someone who used people instead of valuing them. But you changed, I murmured. You changed me, made me want to be better, made me believe could times be better. His grip tightened. Every day, I wake up next to you. I'm terrified I'll revert, that I'll do something controlling or manipulative, and you'll realize I'm still the monster. You're not. I am. Just a reformed one. His lips brushed my forehead. But I'm trying, every day, to be worthy of you and Leo, to be the man you think I am. I lifted my head, looking at him in the dim light. You already are. The fact that you worry about it proves it. Monsters don't question themselves. Men do. He kissed me, then soft and sweet and full of promise. When we broke apart, he was smiling. Go to sleep, Trisha. Tomorrow we start building our boring domestic life. Can't wait. I settled back against his chest, listening to his heartbeat slow as sleep claimed him. Through the open door, I could see Leo's room, the paper cranes spinning lazily. The poison was gone. The queen was in prison. Tyrell would face justice, and we, this strange, damaged family we'd built from desperation and choice, were safe. I thought about the woman I'd been 3 months ago. Desperate, broken, ready to kill to save her sister. I thought about who I was now. Stronger, whole, building a future instead of just surviving the present. This is my empire now, I thought, drowsing. Not built on fear or blood, but on second chances and stubborn love. The city breathed outside our windows. Leo slept peacefully. Akira's arms held me close. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I wasn't afraid of tomorrow. I was looking forward to it. Get to decide what you want, independent of my feelings. She leaned against my shoulder. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. Later, when everyone had gone home and Leo was asleep, I found Akira on the balcony, our spot, where we'd stood 1,000 times over 15 years, watching the city breathe. She's thinking about responding to Tyrell, I said, sliding under his arm. How do you feel about that? Terrified, hopeful, uncertain. I looked up at him. What if he hurts her again? Then we'll be there to help her heal. Just like we've always been. His hand moved in slow circles on my back. You can't protect her from every pain, Trisha. Sometimes you just have to trust that you've given her the tools to handle it. When did you become so wise? 15 years of marriage to you. It rubs off. I laughed, the sound carried away by the night breeze. I love you, even when you're annoyingly right about things. I love you too, even when you're terrified of things you can't control. We stood there wrapped in each other, 15 years of marriage and partnership and stubborn love between us. The city glittered below. Our daughter slept safe in her room. And tomorrow would bring new challenges, new choices, new chances to keep building this impossible life. But tonight, we had this. And this quiet moment, this hard-won peace, this family forged from poison and blood and second chances was everything. Tell me a secret, I said, playing our old game. I have no secrets left. You know all of them. Then tell me a truth. He was quiet for a moment. Then, every morning I wake up next to you. I'm still surprised this is real, that you stayed, that we built this, that I get to be not just your husband but Leo's father. It feels like something I don't deserve but can't imagine living without. You deserve it, I said firmly. You've earned every moment of this life, every smile, every ordinary day, every second chance. We both have. And that was the truest thing either of us had said. We'd started with poison and lies and impossible circumstances. We'd built something real anyway, and we'd keep building it, one stubborn choice at a time, for the rest of our lives.